TV night, with your main event being, not only was there not an affair between AJ, I almost said AJ Styles, always almost say AJ Styles, I love you, AJ Styles and Dixie Carter, come to find out they were taking care of an admitted pregnant drug addict. And her tears, oh my gosh, for a second I really thought I was watching General Hospital. I was waiting on Luke and Laura to come out with steel chairs and to start tag teaming everybody. I was waiting on Scorpio to come out with his patch on his eye. I mean, it was all my children, I guess. I mean, I don't know any way to put it because that was horrible, and that's your main event. And to me, that's not even the worst part because, and then people go, what? And here I am being an old fogey, thinking psychology, of course. You have Christopher Daniels and Kaz get the jump on AJ, who is in the ring. Not only do they not beat him down, he gets over on them.
Yep.
He, in fact, power bombs. Was it Christopher Daniels he power bombed?
Kazarian.
Came down on his head. He ends up beating the crap out of Daniels. And I'm 2-on-1. Not only do you crap on your main event, you also get rid of the greatest psychology in wrestling known to man. Strength in numbers. Strength in numbers.
And it also doesn't help that AJ didn't. I know AJ lost earlier in the night to someone in the Bound for Glory series.
Magnus.
Taylor Hendricks?
Magnus.
No. God, don't get me started on her. Yeah, but I mean AJ, lost earlier in the night, if I'm not mistaken, because they said that AJ. They were making the comment that AJ seemed off his game, and he couldn't even hit the Pele kick, and he's never missed a Pele kick. Yet he seemed to hit. Well, that's what they said. Hold on.
The man can't even hit the move that everybody stole from him. The one that every yard-tard known to man thinks that they can hit, and that makes them a wrestler.
Well,
the man, that is horrible. So I guess I missed that.
Well, it was during his match because he actually did miss it, and they said that he had more on it. This whole situation had his had his game off and all that, and that's why. And I mean, you could tell that AJ intentionally missed the Pele kick, but I just wish I could remember who he was going up against. It was like I said, it was in the BFG series, but and he lost to that person. Yet he's able to in the final segment destroy the former tag team champions, hits the Pele kick on one of them. So basically, what you're saying is Kaz and Daniels aren't as good as the guy who beat AJ.
That you can't even remember. That you can't even remember.
Exactly. I wish I could remember. I know it wasn't RVD and I almost said Triple H. I know it wasn't RVD and Jeff Hardy because they fought each other. Pope took on. I know Kurt. It wasn't Kurt. It wasn't Pope.
Bully Ray.
No, because Bully Ray took on Pope because he called him boy.
Yeah, he did.
It wasn't Kurt. It wasn't. Who else is in the series?
Crimson. Who did Samoa Joe wrestle? Samoa Joe wrestled somebody at the beginning of the night.
Okay, real quick. Mr. Anderson wrestled Daniels, Bound for Glory series. Kurt Angle, Robbie E, Magnus, AJ Styles.
Magnus. If I'm not mistaken, did AJ not lose?
AJ lost to Magnus. Yes, I mentioned that a minute ago.
That's what it was. It was Magnus. He couldn't. That's what it was. So they're saying that Magnus is better than Joe or Kazarian and Daniels
combined.
Yeah, and I'm just like, what in the living hell? But
thank you,
hold on. The two men who beat Magnus and Joe for the tag titles, Kazarian and Daniels, are actually the sum of them are not greater than Magnus. So they're saying that apparently Joe, if we're doing math here, Joe was the deteriorating factor in Magnus, causing Magnus not to be as great as Kazarian and Daniels at the time, who apparently AJ is greater than them, but he's greater than AJ. So in theory, Magnus should challenge Kazarian and Daniels, and by mathematical law, he should be able to beat them by themselves since he beat AJ, and in theory, also Kazarian and Daniels minus Joe. And believe it or not, I actually have a math equation in my head right now. It's really retarded.
Actually, no. And the problem is, Mabo, that makes sense. Anybody that's ever really learned the business, either being in the business or outside, what you just said made sense. And that goes to exactly what we're talking about bad booking. People do not think past their noses as bookers. And then when you do start to think past your noses, when you're like, okay, well, here's what we're starting with, and here's the payoff. Everything in between that, we need to get together now. That's the greatest thing with the storyline. You got to have it. And you just, I mean, to me it made sense, and I'm sure a lot of the enlightened ones, the ones that are not sheeple that listen to our show, will actually agree with that and say, that is what's wrong with TNA. That very booking. And here's the thing. You see that in WWE a little bit. You don't see it in WWE as often as you see it in TNA, as you see it in Ring of Honor. And that's what separates these guys and their storylines and their abilities. And there should be some guy out there that should be like, hey, wait a minute. If this happened, with this happened, and this happened, either that or they just don't give a crap. And well, the fans don't care, and they're not going to remember. One of the two.
You know, first off, Mabo actually applying algebra to this whole situation has just totally taken me out of my game. I've been sitting back going, holy nutmeg, he's right. Wicked being,
I'm a history major.
Wicked being the voice of calm, cool psychology in this situation is also just as disturbing. And the fact of the matter is, I'm still sitting back wondering how such a good show could go so wrong.
Little things. It's little things that kill shows, Eddie. We've talked about this before.
Oh, God, yes.
And when you're on a national stage, it's exposed for not just the 70, 80 to 125 people that are there.
Right.
It's exposed to the world. And then it goes up on YouTube, and people start pointing out things. And, of course, if 3 or 4 things are going to be pointed out by somebody, everybody's really going to start, paying attention to the whole thing. And then you notice all the small flaws. And it's the little things that kill. If you don't handle your little things, now you can have a great show.
Yep.
But if there's no psychology and there's flaws in your system, the fans are going to rip that completely apart. Now, if you have a stupid show like that Rock Hakeem crap they had that made absolutely no sense but had all of their basic fundamentals together, that overshadowed TNA at one point.
Yep.
And it's the little things. If you take care of the little things, I swear to God, promoters out there, if you take care of the little things, and this goes to everybody in the business, you take care of the little things, the big things will fall into place themselves. Because you got to have a good foundation to build from.
I'll agree to that 100%. I mean,
we built this city on rock and roll.
Well, I mean, it's the old axiom that, you can take, as many shots as you can if you're solid. You could take all the big blows, but if there's even one little crack in the armor, one good punch, it's shattered. So
yep,
it really is.
Unfortunately, and then, it's like you pointed out, Wick, when you have those little nuances that are just filled, instead of filled in with strength, they're filled in with poo-poo. People are going to notice. So, I mean, everyone always notices the turd in the punch bowl.
And
you're exactly right. You are 110,000% correct. And is it not true, though, guys, that when it's out, like in a, not just necessarily a public forum, but really far out there as it is with TNA, everybody sees it, and everybody's there to judge those flaws, and they will point them out. Am I correct? Do you think the Internet has a big thing to do with this? Because Hubert Carmichael, we interviewed him at you and I talked about this off air on the To Be Determined show on TNT Radio this past Wednesday night.
Right.
And I asked him to point to, the era or what have you that kind of, where our business changed. And, we had talked about ECW, the over impact and, kind of breaking the kayfabe, bringing back the curtain, being, of course, the very beginning, the tip of the iceberg of it. And we all know the tip is the most sensitive part of the iceberg.
Of course.
But the Internet being open, and it used to be the 1-900 number you had to call. What was the guy's name?
Gene Okerlund used to advertise it.
Stagger Lee Marshall?
Yes.
Oh, Lee Marshall,
yes.
yeah.
And, and that used to be the only way that you would hear about this. I mean, yeah, you would get, World of Wrestling and PWI and things like that, and have things, yeah. But that was always like 3-4 weeks behind,
Right.
But if you called the 1-900 numbers, you get it now. You can go on the Internet and be like, oh, Samoa Joe leaving the Waffle House with Kazarian. Magnus carrying the bags. Magnus is a little bitch. I'm just saying that's just the metaphor,
Right.
Buff Bagwell being the handsome stranger, et cetera, et cetera. But it being open like that, he said that he pointed to being the factor, the determining factor to where the business changed, to where it completely went to entertainment. And, you know, this was the last guy trained by Peter Maivia. Peter Maivia actually died, you know, during this training. He did a lot of his training out in Hawaii. So, I mean, this guy knew his stuff, and that's what he pointed to. And, you know, we can sit here and we can do what we want to, and we can talk all we want. But when you hear somebody like, you know, the NWA Women's World Champion Tasha Simone, or Cuba Carmichael, or Kevin Douglas, or somebody like that, you know, talk about it, you know, it brings volumes to it.
Very true. Very true. Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, you know, in the, 30-plus years that I've been watching pro wrestling, there have been, you know, a few just like, to me, world of pro wrestling, you know, like altering events. Of course, you know, the advent of Hulk Hogan in the rock and wrestling era. I came in right when that was happening, you know, a little before that. That's when everything blew up. Then another game changer in my eyes growing up, when I was a little bit older, ECW. You know, that almost brought back the realism to it.
Yeah, but then my problem with that and what we got is then you had people start calling them, you know, people by the shoot names. You know, all of a sudden it wasn't the Wicked Nemesis. It'd be like Enoch Kassari, and you're like, oh my God, it's real because he just used his real name. But there's a reason why some of us go by that. I mean, like, you know, dude, if you were making money off Mabo, off the name Mabo, you know, and then somebody was like Mark, you probably wouldn't respond, and you may not be too happy with it. That's my problem with that. And then, like, to bring up the fact that Sandman was an alcoholic and a drug addict, I don't think that should be brought up. And, you know, and the stuff with Raven being on heroin, et cetera, and, you know, wives being passed around. It was, but not only that. ECW was the first place where you would see somebody take 15 freaking power bombs, an arm drag from the top rope, a spine buster, and then end up getting beat by a schoolboy. That, to me, was the catalyst with what changed in the business. All of a sudden, a power bomb didn't mean a power bomb. Everybody was hitting power bombs. I mean, some guy that was just a no-name, some throw-off guy was hitting a power bomb. You see what I'm saying? Realism's one thing. But on one hand, you would have them, somebody like Chris Jericho, Dean Malenko, Eddie Guerrero, Chris Benoit, who, you know, today's 5 years ago, Chris Benoit going out there and doing their thing. And then on the same one, you would have, you know, Tommy Dreamer, you know, no-sell a pile driver. And then turn around and win with some, you know, ratty-ass, you know, inside cradle or schoolboy tie. It's just, that to me was the ECW. But the Rocking and Wrestling Connection, though, maybe I got into 87. I'm sure, you know, we've talked about this before. You know, you're a little bit older than me by like 2 days, but but you know, you come in a little bit before it, you know, and I think when you come in is when the Rocking and Wrestling thing was right at its peak, correct?
Yes. But when I said the realism, I meant more of it wasn't wrestling clowns, or if it had a wrestling clown, it was mocking the WWE. It wasn't plumbers and race car drivers. It was, you know, guys in tights, you know, who, there were some definite illogical. There was some garbage wrestling, but then you, like you said, you had guys like Benoit, Douglas, Malenko, Eddie Guerrero, Too Cold Scorpio, who were going out there and wrestling and giving fans what they wanted. So, and then that rolled into what, to me, really just for Kafka everything, and that would be the Internet. With the advent of the Internet, all bets were off. I mean, and especially every day, things just get more and more. I mean, you had the Internet where in a couple of, you know, hours, when the Internet and pro wrestling first married, within a couple of hours, however long it took you to get to the nearest computer and post it on a website. I saw Triple H coming out of a strip joint. Okay. Then, with the advent of digital cameras, you could have that proof. You didn't have to go to, you know, the frickin' Kodak kiosk, print it up, scan it, and then send it. You had digital cameras. You could download it right then. And then with the, you know, the smartphones now, you could sit there within seconds, however long it takes you to pull that camera out, take the picture, put it on Instagram or Twitter or whatever, biggity bam. So that's really I mean, the internet, you could say this, that, and the other has changed the wrestling business, and yeah, they all have, but with the advent of the internet and smart technology, that has really, to me, is just all bets are off pro wrestling now. That's why there's no surprise. When I sat there and tweeted Monday night a couple weeks ago when they said the star from the past of Raw, I was like, oh, it's Vader. And that's why I tweeted. If you look, I tweeted Vader was coming out before Vader came out. Why? Because I'd seen that he was hanging around. He had arrived in the city the night before on Sunday. And, I mean, two and two together, logic equals Vader's coming out. So, to me, it's not been an angle or, the pushing of a star or a death or anything like that that's changed pro wrestling. To me, that's changed modern-day pro wrestling. It's the internet.
Yep. That's the easy way to say it. But by the same token, the internet has come out with some good things as far as it relates to pro wrestling, because now marketing and advertising, and not only on the company level, but also on the personal level, has become a lot easier. Case point scenario, FastEddieLane.com, TheWickedNemesis.com, YouTube, for some of us to get some pieces of our bodies of work out there. Because, Wicked and I were talking earlier today, long before we went on air, and I'm looking at one thing in particular. We can gauge our performances a lot faster now than we could, I'll say it, back when I first broke into the business. Because camcorders were still technically in their infancy. To shoot in Video 8 meant you got to wait on that film to be developed and then sent back, and then you got to put it through a projector. But nowadays, you've got handheld phones with motion cameras in them. Yes, I said motion cameras, haha. You've got handheld camcorders with immediate playback. And then you can post those videos up on the web, and as long as it takes you to upload. If you've got 3G, 4G, wired in, wireless, doesn't matter. Hardwired is what I meant to say. So, for as detrimental as this thing called the internet has been to the world of professional, not just wrestling. Oh my God, let's count the number of different ways that people have just decided to interject. Because you've got some people that that ESPN hires as bloggers or brings in as bloggers, and half these people couldn't get jobs with regular papers. They couldn't get a job with the Shelby County Reporter, but see, I actually respect the Shelby County Reporter. Much less the Birmingham News, or the Huntsville, whatever the paper is up there this week, Times. And it's just like everybody wants to use the web to make a name for themselves. Well, you've got a lot of us that have made our names long before this. I've had the honor and the privilege of broadcasting on small, medium, and major market radio stations around the Southeast, and have had a great time doing it. I chose to bring Beyond Ringside back as a web-based broadcast because I felt it gave us more latitude to work with. We would have already had to take 2 commercial breaks on terrestrial radio. Satellite's a different story. Details forthcoming. But yeah, I can see, and we've had this discussion here before, and we're probably going to have it again before it's over with. Going at 6 minutes before the top of the hour on a Sunday night, live edition of Beyond Ringside. Thank you to everybody who has been adding us via Facebook. And let me go ahead and say this. For those who are actually going back through the Ustream feed, please note that when I put this graphic up for the social networks, yes, I still include the one from MySpace because we still update from there, and I still get actual messages from human beings on MySpace. Don't laugh. They're not all just bots and entertainment whores that are trying to get your attention to, hey, buy my CD. Twitter, at Beyond Ringside. One word, run it together. On Facebook, please. Facebook.com/Beyond Ringside Live. Run it all together. Don't ask me how this happened, because 2 weeks ago, I noticed that we had 4,928 friends on that friends page over at Facebook.com/Beyond Ringside. Earlier this week, I logged in the Facebook account. 5,500 plus. Don't ask me how that happened. To everyone, and we've still got actually 1,100 I'm not kidding you. 1,100 friend requests pending on the Facebook friends page. Please take a moment. Facebook.com/Beyond Ringside Live. That is the fan page. We are going to start posting more exclusive content on the fan page. Going to be asking poll questions, going to be submitting video up through there, and the offer is still very much open on both pages. If you are hosting or a part of a wrestling, mixed martial arts, boxing, roller derby, like the Tragic City Rollers, who were supposed to have gotten in touch with me this week. God love them. That's another situation, but we'll talk about that off air. And you have an event upcoming that you would like to try to promote, please feel free. Put the posters up. Put the event information up. Hyperlink the Facebook event page or to your .com. Now, if you're just simply trying to sell something, I'm going to take the link down. End of discussion. You're not using our site to run your retail page. It's one thing to put butts in the chairs, and let people know that you've got a product that's out there as far as a live event goes. Well, guess what? If they like your live event, then they'll come there and then they'll buy your stuff while they're there. But if you're just wanting to put up your T-shirts and your hats and stuff like that, and you don't check with us first, it will come down and you will be blocked. End of discussion. It's just that easy. Before we go to the break, we got 3 minutes before, and we're scheduled to be joined by the modern-day hero Kevin Douglas right after the top of the hour here on Beyond Ringside. Does it make sense that the matches in the Bound for Glory series are only allowed a 10-minute time limit? 15 would be better, and I hate to say it like this, but at least in the Beat the Clock challenge, you set a time precedent and then you work it from there. I just don't think a 10-minute time limit is long enough because you're dealing with A-list talent, and to make them only realize that there is a 10-minute to play with, I think you're selling that talent short. Even if it is RVD Jeff Hardy. Even if it is Samoa Joe and James Storm. By the way, Samoa Joe and James Storm, they managed to do a lot in a short amount of time, and I give credit where credit is due. Hell of a match. Every match in the BFG series from this past Thursday night on Impact was good. Do I feel that it could have been better if they'd had a little bit more time, publicly say, okay, 15 minutes? Possibly. Am I complaining? No, I'm not. I'm really not, because like I said, the show was good up till the final segment. But do you think that putting it out there as a 10-minute time limit takes away from the talent? Maybo?
Does it take away from the talent? Yes. Does it make sense to give them that 10-minute? Yes, because that way you can, you don't necessarily always have to have, a winner or a loser, and you guess who's going to get points and all this, that, and the other. I mean, you can have them, go to a draw, and that way you can justify, somebody not always getting points or, losing points, because I don't know if they still do subtractions for, like, disqualifications or whatever.
Yes.
Because, they change rules every year. So, but you also got to realize, it's a 2-hour show, you get to take away for commercials. If you do 15 minutes, and if you decide to go even close to the 15 minutes, you also got to realize we had how many BFG series matches this week? 5? That's an hour and 15 minutes right there.
6.
6? Okay, so 15 and 15 is 30, 15 and 15 is 30. That's an hour and a half.
Hour.
Well, no, then you had the other 15 and 15.
But you're hitting it right on the head, Mabo. That's the whole point. That's why it should be good, is the fact that you automatically have wrestling right there. You have wrestling for at least an hour and 15 minutes of a 2-hour show. Holy crap, you just quadrupled what the WWE does, which they're still promoting themselves as an alternative to WWE, even though WWE would send their reigning Intercontinental Champion over there.
Okay, now let me cut in for one short second.
Well, hold on, let me go back to that. That's you and I and Eddie's way of thinking, oh crap, they're going to put wrestling. Sadly, though, the majority of the people that are really, I'm not going to say the majority, but I'm going to say a good number of people who are watching pro wrestling today want, crap like they had at the end of the show. They want the drama. They want the drama that WWE put out for years. So I want to see pro wrestling with a little bit of entertainment. Not entertainment with a little bit of pro wrestling, but with the attention span of a lot of fans these days, it's we want entertainment first, pro wrestling second.
See, and those to me are not always the ones who are going to go to the live shows. And I'll stand beside that comment.
Their primetime Emmy next year.
Now, also, let me go ahead and say this. Remember, this was the GFL. I mean, Open Fight Night. Whatever it was called. GFL. I'm sorry, I'm thinking Go Fight Live. I've got Sport Fight X on the brain. I'll talk about that in a few minutes. Adam, how you doing, buddy? From that vantage point, you had the Open Fight Night, which gave you the chance to have all 12 people in the BFG series in action. That's not going to happen every week. You're going to have some weeks where you're mainly probably going to have 2 matches in the Bound for Glory series. This is where I will sit back and say this. I had fun with Impact this past Thursday night because of the fact that there was more action. If you go through and eliminate the commercial breaks, and I did this, somebody uploaded it on YouTube without commercials, 1 hour and 28 minutes is what the download was. So from that vantage point, that's 32 minutes worth of commercials and possibly promos. So we look at it from that vantage point. And yeah, I mean, because I slice out the commercials when I take it off my DVR and put it on DVD. So this past Thursday was not typical. There's a lot more pressure on them to do that Open Fight Night and the gut check all in one show, along with getting Bound for Glory matches in. So it's not going to be a typical circumstance in any regard whatsoever. Folks, tell you what, we're going to the top of the hour break real quick. We're going to continue this discussion a little bit later on in the show. And when we come back, we are scheduled to be joined by the modern-day hero, Kevin Douglas, right here on Beyond Ringside. Stay tuned.
Hi, I'm Ryan Seacrest for RAD. Over 300 people in this country are killed every week by a drunk driver. That's the equivalent of 2 747 plane crashes every single week. And the problem isn't going away unless we all do our part to stop it. So if you see someone who's about to drive after drinking, get the keys. Don't leave it up to anyone else. Friends don't let friends drive drunk.
A public service announcement brought to you by RAD, the National Association of Broadcasters, and the Ad Council.
This is awesome, Austin Creed, the smartest man in this industry called pro wrestling, the valedictorian of this business. You are locked in to Beyond Ringside.
8. I deliver your Sunday paper every week.
7. We work on the same floor.
1 in 8 Americans is struggling with hunger.
6. Our kids walk to school together every day,
including millions of children and seniors.
5. We chat in the elevator at work sometimes.
4. I'm your cashier at the grocery store.
Who's the 1 in 8 in your life that needs help? You can make a difference through Feeding America at feedingamerica.org/1 in 8. A public service announcement brought to you by Feeding America and the Ad Council.
This is Gabe Sapolsky from Dragon Gate USA and Evolve Pro Wrestling, and you're locked into Beyond Ringside.
Most days go by without a whole lot of surprises. But what if a disaster strikes without warning? What if life, as you know it, has completely turned on its head? Would you be prepared? Before a disaster turns your family's world upside down, be ready. Get a kit. Make a plan. Be informed. Learn how at www.ready.gov. Brought to you by the Federal Emergency Management Agency and the Ad Council.
This is Jim Cornette. You are locked into the show of all time, Beyond Ringside.
The odds of becoming a signed artist and having 3 #1 albums? 1 in 100 million. The odds of going on to win 6 Grammy Awards? 1 in 1.4 million. The odds of this performer having a child diagnosed with autism? 1 in 110. I'm Toni Braxton, and I encourage you to learn the signs of autism at autismspeaks.org. Autism Speaks. It's time to listen. Brought to you by Autism Speaks and the Ad Council.
I'm Paul Ellering, and you're locked into Beyond the Ringside.
Hi, this is Ozzy Osbourne. For many years, you know I've had a drink problem, and I'm trying to battle that problem every single day. But one thing I don't do, I don't drive my car when I'm drinking. I get someone to drive me. Do not drink and drive. It's the stupidest thing. If you drink, just don't drive. Not only are you going to hurt yourself, you may hurt some other person, and you wouldn't want that on your conscience, would you?
A public service announcement brought to you by the U.S. Department of Transportation, RAD, the National Association of Broadcasters, and the Ad Council.
Listen up, this is the NWA North American Heavyweight Champion, the Temptation Sean Tempers, and right now you are locked in with Beyond Ringside.
Let me try.
Okay, just remember what I showed you.
Yep, there was a bunny who had one big ear and another big ear. They looped-a-looped, made a bow, and the bunny hopped away. I did it!
Oh, good job, kiddo. Now let's tie your other shoe.
The smallest moments can have the biggest impact on a child's life. Take time to be a dad today. Learn more at 1-877-4DAD-411 or visit fatherhood.gov.
Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
This is Ben Masters locking it down with Beyond Ringside. Don't miss it. Be there.
Confessions of a Potentially Perfect Parent, brought to you by AdoptUsKids.org.
I don't know how to talk like a parent. Don't make me come back there. You see what I mean? It's pretty awful. Try it again. Don't make me come back there. Now that's pretty good. That one kind of sounded like my dad. Weird.
You don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. There are thousands of teens in foster care who would love to put up with you. Call 1-888-200-4005 or visit AdoptUsKids.org for more information. A message from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt Us Kids, and the Ad Council.
This is GCW's senior official Bernie Kowanowitz, and you are locked into Beyond Ringside.
Hi, this is Joe Perry and Steven Tyler of Aerosmith for Red. You know, it's okay to rock and roll and party down. Just don't get in that 2,000-pound bullet when you're done and cocked. And please don't drink and drive. I'm the one that jaded you.
A reminder that friends don't let friends drive drunk. A public service message brought to you by the Ad Council, U.S. Department of Transportation, National Association of Broadcasters, and RAD.
This is Bad Brad Armstrong, part of the famous Armstrong family of professional wrestling, and you're locked in to Beyond Ringside.
You must be your fairy godmother. Yes.
It doesn't take a fairy godmother to tell you that the right fit means everything.
Good heavens, child. You can't go in that.
Children under 4'9" need to be in a booster seat because they aren't ready for adult safety belts alone. Remember that 4'9" is the magic number, and get your little pumpkin there safely in a booster seat.
Oh, thank you.
For more information, visit boosterseat.gov. This has been a message from the U.S. Department of Transportation and the Ad Council.
This is Dale the Demon Torborg, and you're locked in to Beyond Ringside.
Charlie.
Hey, did you see that play last night?
Unbelievable.
Yeah, and they still lost.
Sure.
You know, when I was playing, what we tried to...
You played in the street.
I played in the service. Anyway, what I'm trying to say is the kid, he should have...
Yeah, Hey, you okay? I don't... Someone call 911!
2 out of 3 people with diabetes die of a heart attack or stroke. But you can lower the risk. Ask your healthcare provider how. For more info, go to diabetesactnow.org. Brought to you by the American Diabetes Association and the Ad Council.
This is Dale the Demon Torborg, and you're locked in to Beyond Ringside.
Hey parents, introducing the Communicizer. Go from boring old man speak.
Oh, you know, I'm here if you want to talk.
To 100% off the chain.
Text me whenever, yo.
I love you, Dad.
Communicizer is not available in stores because it doesn't exist. But that's okay. You don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. Because kids in foster care don't need perfection. They need you. For more information on how you can adopt, go to AdoptUsKids.org. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt Us Kids, and the Ad Council.
Hi, this is Emily Richards for RAD, recording artists, actors, and athletes against drunk driving. One person's negligence shattered my life in a single instant. You see, my little sister Annie was killed by a drunk driver. Please, remember those you love. Friends don't let friends drive drunk.
A public service announcement brought to you by the U.S. Department of Transportation, RAD, the National Association of Broadcasters, and the Ad Council.
My name is Mary Crafts, and this is how I live united. I've spent the last 24 years serving others in my catering company, but I felt that a huge part of our community was still being underserved, those invisible children and young families.
This is Bullet Bob Armstrong. I'm Southern born, Southern bred, and I never miss Beyond Ringside.
Welcome to the original rock and wrestling radio show. Welcome to Beyond Ringside, your source for wrestling, MMA, and boxing in the Southeast. To contact the Ringside Roundtable of Beyond Ringside, email them at beyondringside@gmail.com. And now, your host for Beyond Ringside, the man, no myth, all legend, Fast Eddie Lane.
The music plays, the microphones go hot, and we are live on a summer Sunday evening. This is your home for wrestling, mixed martial arts, sports talk, and a whole lot more. Welcome to Beyond Ringside. Thank you to Mike Macaroni for the intro. Always great to hear the cheesiest announcer in broadcast history. Second only to yours truly on any bad day. Welcome again, tag team partners, Mark Mabo Bowman.
Smack it up, flip it, rub it down, and stuff it with pudding.
Like to welcome in tag team partner, the Oracle of Ominous, the Wicked Nemesis.
Not only do I jack this show and completely talk over everybody and spend almost the entirety of this show speaking my mind, evidently my tweeting also drowns out Eddie. For that, I do apologize.
Now, I was trying to figure out if it was actually you typing or me typing, because I was doing a ton of typing over here, keeping stuff updated. And ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to welcome in our very special guest at this time. He is the current and reigning National Wrestling Alliance World Junior Heavyweight Champion, the modern-day hero, Kevin Douglas. Mr. Douglas, welcome in.
And I get my little own catchphrase, the hero of today, the hero of right now, and I stand for truth, justice, and domestic tranquility. How's that?
You've obviously never been to my place on a Saturday night, have you? That's about as far away from that as we can possibly get. First off, thank you for taking the time to come on with us this evening. A great pleasure to have you on board.
Thank you.
Now, diving straight in, let's go back a little bit. I want to go ahead and ask, having had a chance to keep up a little bit with some of your exploits, by the way, thank you for all the posts on Facebook and, of course, on Twitter. We get a chance to see what's going on, as well as some of the other wrestling websites that are out there. How long have you actively been in the game?
I've been a professional since May of 1999. I was 19 years old.
What was your original influence for getting into the business?
Rey Mysterio, the Cruiserweight division, I think, in the 90s. That was really a kind of an eye-opening thing for me as a lifelong athlete to see guys, of my athletic caliber, my size, the middleweight, welterweight type wrestler getting an opportunity to get showcased and the talent to get showcased. And I said, man, I was just coming off a career in baseball, which I kind of was done with that. And I saw something that had a little bit more of an individual appeal. And I did some martial arts and kind of just started getting myself ready to become a fighter and to jump to professional wrestling.
Now, everybody always seems to remember the first thing they see on two different levels in this business. Number one, the first thing you remember seeing on television as far as pro wrestling, and number two, the first match or the main event of the first show that you ever went to in person. What would those be for you?
Now that's great, because when I was a kid, way before I decided that I wanted to be a pro wrestler, we used to go out to the Will Rogers Coliseum and watch the Von Erichs and the Freebirds. And when I was, I was young. I was maybe 6 years old, 7 years old, and it's really hard to top that in your mind going forward after that. So that was my first big, real memory, was seeing Kerry Von Erich and the giant Kamala and those big, huge, giant characters, and me being this little pipsqueak kid going, oh my God, these guys are insane, And but that would be my first, live moment. And then television-wise, I still have to go back to Rey Mysterio and Psychosis when I was a teenager, seeing that, and then also Kerry Von Erich when I was a real young kid. There was a kind of a sabbatical from wrestling when all the tragedy happened locally here in the Metroplex. So it was kind of hard to really get into wrestling with the Cowboys and everything, turning it up and becoming Super Bowl champions. Everybody just kind of forgot about wrestling in my Metroplex until, like I was saying, I just caught a glimpse of some pay-per-view matches of some of the cruiserweights and said, man, I remember loving that so much when I was a kid, and I'd spent so much time with baseball and everything, and it just kind of, everything came together.
Mabo, come on in.
Now, Kevin, how does one exactly go about becoming a modern-day hero? Now, do you have to get bit by a radioactive day or bombarded with cosmic day radiation? Or did you have like a super day soldier serum or something?
Well, there's actually a lot of components that went along with it. First of all, being a normal guy, I don't have actually any radioactive powers, but there are plenty of superhero or hero individuals that don't. Hand-to-hand combat and martial arts training was definitely the first part of it, and learning that, learning to have a principle bigger than you, which in my case being protecting people and standing for certain principles that help people just have a better life altogether, and really just giving up a regular life for that. That's a huge part of it. Now, once I got the cape, which I kind of have to, it's an undisclosed location, but it does have some sort of supernatural ability to it. Once you put a cape on, anybody that's ever worn one, that kind of just adds a whole new level. And then so on and so forth. In my ventures as a hero, I've collected other kind of artifacts that have kind of enhanced my superpower and given me somewhat of a superhuman type scenario. But I didn't start out that way by any means.
You're running for public office,
It was a journey. It was a journey. Let's put it that way. It's been a long journey to achieve that sort of status. It's not something you go and you read a book about and then the next day you wake up. Haven't you ever seen Batman Begins?
No, I try to avoid. See, I consider that one the crappy one.
Anything Christopher Nolan, even at its worst, is worth a watch.
Wicked Nemesis, come on board.
First, I have a two-part question, obviously. First, whenever you and Sean Schultz, the modern-day warrior, get together, do you guys have to instantly fight it out for dominance? And
we are. Go ahead. Did you want me to answer them one at a time, or let me go ahead and answer them one at a time.
Okay.
So question one is, when me and Sean Schultz butt heads, is there any compromising of character?
I guess pretty much one of you guys are a hero and the other is a warrior. So,
well, it's one of those deals where Kerry Von Erich was the modern day warrior originally. For those in the historical kind of scenario, and being a guy that was a big Kerry Von Erich fan growing up, when the modern day acronym came on to my hero persona, it was just more like an honor than anything. And so I thought of it as me being a hero right now in this today and age, not from 1939. Sean Schultz, on the other hand, his character, I haven't really saw too much of what he does as far as promo-wise or interview-wise or character development to really give you much of opinion on him as far as that goes. But as far as in the ring, we have wrestled one-on-one, and he just came out there as, just Sean Schultz, the wrestler, and there was no persona. So it's hard to give you much of an opinion on that. So maybe the modern-day hero is, kind of a prowess unto himself.
And second, why did you want to be a wrestler?
I wanted to be a professional athlete initially. That was my first goal as a kid. I really love sports and competitiveness, and I really saw myself wanting to do that for a living. And, I always had a flair about me and a personality about me in team sports that always got me into trouble. And professional wrestling, it was the complete opposite. The more I was myself and the more I just let loose and let my personality out and just be an athlete at the same time. I did come from a mixed martial arts background and a sports background, so I do love getting in the ring and really getting after it physically, but also having personality, to be embraced for your personality, whether it's the crowd booing you, cheering you, or whatever the reaction you're getting. For them to embrace your personality in any way was something I hadn't ever had in sports before, and it really just, as Tom Cruise would say, it completed me and helped me realize that I had a home there, and it's been so great since. I've always felt like that about wrestling.
If I may, over the years, the junior heavyweight championship has had a little bit of a flux. It would at one point the weight limit was 220, then it was 225, then it was 230, now it's back to 225.
Mm-hmm.
With the promotion out of Nashville-Lando, as I like to call it, Thursdays, having set a weight limit on their WYZ title, I'll just say it, with their X Division title now being recognized at a 225-pound weight limit, do you think that adds that much more validity to the factor of a pure junior heavyweight championship, which has always been in place with the National Wrestling Alliance, or do you think that they actually just went ahead and followed the original model?
I really think that I really don't know the best answer for that. It's hard to really know what someone's thinking on that. But I do think I have my own political agenda as far as the NWA junior heavyweight division and the junior heavyweight cruiserweight division as a whole. I feel like that it is a division unto itself that presents its own type of action, its own character and personality. And I think that it's just something that wrestling, no matter how much it tries to get away from it, you can't, because fans are always going to enjoy the type of action that only the middleweight, cruiserweight, junior heavyweight division can bring. And you can see that in other combat sports like MMA and boxing, where some of the top prominent draws aren't the big muscled up guys. They're the guys that are the best athletes that give you the best fight of the night.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the way I view myself and have viewed myself since, I really my whole career. I know that sounds cocky, but I've always lived by the motto that if you don't believe you're great, then you're never going to be. And I just felt like it took everyone else a long time to feel the way I already felt, And I've always felt this way about the junior heavyweight division. And that's what I saw in 1996 and 97 that made me start training to become a wrestler, was that there was something there that the rest of professional wrestling couldn't offer, that only this particular group of guys, because of their size and their abilities and the way that their abilities show themselves in the ring, it's just the way it is, And if I was a big guy, I would never try to do the stuff that a little guy does. It works away from your strength. And so I just think that makes us unique, and it's just kind of what part, I think it's our time right now, and I think that professional wrestling needs to capitalize on all the great ones that are out there right now.
Now, you make the reference to the Von Erich's Freebirds when you were growing up. And that is probably one of the most, I don't want to use the word notorious, nefarious, but most widely known and recognized blood feuds in professional wrestling history. And, you've had other single feuds like Buzz Sawyer, Tommy Wildfire, Rich back in the 80s, early 90s, and you had scenarios in play with other factions that would go to war with each other. However, and this is something on a personal note, you see it in the heavyweight category, where they do allow the programs to advance to where they can be classified as blood feuds, but we don't really see that much of it in the junior heavyweight category. On a personal note, why do you think that is?
They're scared. They know that if they allow us to do what everybody else can do, because our action in the ring is better, that we may just have a moment in time in history, our own segment of being the greatest. And maybe in history they may take back over, and in time everything kind of cycles through and out. But in this phase, at this time, if they allowed us into that division, you can see it with Daniel Bryan and his great personality in the WWE, that, man, you let a junior heavyweight that can do it in the ring better than the heavyweights go in and they're on the entertainment side. Now all of a sudden you've got a whole nother set of money-making draws that the fans are going to get into. And I say this to you, on characters in Hollywood and in any kind of character-developing scenario, it's not really about who's the biggest or that kind of thing. It's about who can draw in the audience and get that emotion. And there's no doubt that that's a huge part of wrestling. And I just think it's just been kept away from the junior heavyweight division more than anything, in fear that it may take away from the heavyweight division and make the junior heavyweight division put it in a limelight that it maybe never has been in history. And I think you can look at history and see that it's never had the chance.
I'll agree 100%. Mabo.
Yeah, all right. Now, some of your, it's a two-part question. You can answer both at the same time. Well, not at the same time, because that would be really confusing. And I don't think you have two voices you can use at the same time.
He is a hero. We can do this.
I mean, it could be a ventriloquist act. I don't know. The cake is a lie. Anyway, two-part question. One, some of your contemporaries in the junior heavyweight division that you have faced, that you've really enjoyed having a match with, and then some of your contemporaries in the junior heavyweight division that you haven't had a match with, that you know that you would love to face and that you know you would have a good match with.
Okay, so the two-part question. So the first, who are the ones that I've already faced, that I have admiration for, and then two, the next part of the question will be who I would like to face in the near future or future that I believe is a great wrestler. Correct?
Yes. Correct.
Okay. I have lost complete track at this stage of who I'm wrestling and who I've wrestled where. And I don't mean that as a way to dodge your question or come up with a politically correct answer. But I can tell you that over the last 6 months, a few matches have really stood out in my mind more than others. And it's nothing against the guys that I wrestled that I'm not going to mention. It just means that, maybe the fan response was more than anything, and that's what I'm about. First off, at the top of my head is Nick Madrid from NWA Hollywood. He's just really got something special about him, and the fans really respond to him. And immediately when we got in the ring together, there was a lot of chemistry there, almost as if we'd wrestled 100 times before. And I really could see him as a guy that on any stage, a big stage in front of tons of people, that him and I could really give something special, not only in the ring, but just like we were talking about, as far as having personality and having emotion and having a real blood feud. I really could see that between him and I. Another guy, while I'm on the Hollywood bandwagon here, Johnny Yuma is another guy that just, you look at him and you say, how? But I used to look at Rey Mysterio and say, how? And people look at me and say, how? How does this guy do it? And Johnny Yuma is one of those guys that tells you he's got something special. And he just has that something it factor, and I really have enjoyed wrestling him in our one singles competition, but I think there's going to be more where that came from. Another couple of guys I have to mention from the tournament that night in Charlotte, all three guys I wrestled, Alex Payne, Caleb Conley, and in the finals, Chase Owens, were just, professional, man. Just the model of what a professional should be every time they wrestle. And the attitude of the locker room and being in the locker room with those guys and the way that they took their business very seriously, just like me, really made for a real comfortable, home-like feeling, and I really have a lot of respect and admiration for them in the ring as well as the way they conduct themselves as professionals. And one other guy that I just have to point out, and this transcends belts. This is, I think, what makes him and I so special. It transcends belts, and it goes off into that mythological realm of good versus evil, monster versus, superhero, villain versus, the valiant warrior, is Tokyo Monster Kahage. So we just have this again, kind of like me and Nick Madrid, this feud that feels like it's been alive longer than we have, that once we get in the ring, it's just like we've got unfinished business. And we wrestle and fight it out like there's no tomorrow. And having a little bit of a mythological aspect to his character, the Tokyo Monster brings out the superhero side of me and kind of, tells a little bit more of my of that story of me than just how good of a pound-for-pound wrestler I am. And those are against the guys that I have wrestled. Any thoughts on that before I delve into something else?
Actually, yeah, I would like to, you bring up Tokyo Monster. That's a name that I've heard, bandied about recently. In your honest opinion, outside of just, the matches you've had, against him, how do you feel about, where he's headed and where his career, what is your honest opinion on his career and where do you think it's going?
I see him as a guy that will, behind the scenes, I'm not going to disclose a whole lot about him, mainly because he's a guy that likes his privacy, and I respect that about him. I'm a guy that likes my privacy as well. But I will tell you that he is one of the most creative minds I've ever met. And in the ring, he has a way of making something out of nothing. And I don't mean out of nothing, he has a way of making something out of open space that no one else does, and he has a way of doing things a little bit unorthodox that people quite haven't seen before. And so I think that always keeps the mystery and the allure of what are you going to see next with this guy. And I think there haven't been a lot of characters like that here in a long time that really kind of leave something to the imagination. And I think that's what that is a quality that makes him unique, and another quality that I try to create for my own character. And I think that's going to help him go far in wrestling altogether. As a wrestler out there in the ring, I think he can really get it done. So I think that there's no one he couldn't compete against, and people say, man, he belongs in there. but also, again, I think he's got a long future as just being involved in professional wrestling as a whole, because it really has a real good mind in the grasp around what he's doing and what wrestling really is and what the fans want, most importantly, which has been lost in the shuffle here on the independent scene.
And do me a favor, we have got to run to our bottom of the hour break. Can you hang with us through the break?
Absolutely.
Coolness. Folks, we're going to be back in 5 right here on Beyond Ringside. Stay tuned.
When planning your next party or special event, insist on the best. Full Range Entertainment is a professional entertainment company providing a full range of services. From professional disc jockeys and MCs to catering and photography, when the details of your special day must be perfect, call us first. Wedding receptions, corporate parties, school functions, birthday celebrations, and more. We also have Birmingham's largest selection of karaoke tracks available. With over 40 years combined experience, Full Range Entertainment can provide you with the talent and professionalism you need and deserve to make your next event one you'll never forget. For more information on the full range of services we offer, call 533-HITS. That's 533-HITS. Or check us out on our website at fullrangeentertainment.com.
It's a 1:15
Open the night with Lady Annabella and Darius Rucker.
This is not my bad comeback song.
June 21st at Oak Mountain Amphitheater.
Just a kiss on your lips in the moonlight.
Lady Annabella, Open the Night 2012 World Tour.
Baby, you're the only one I run to.
Lady Annabella Live. And Darius Rucker.
It won't be like this for long.
Plus special guest, Thompson Square.
You gonna kiss me all night.
June 21st at Oak Mountain Amphitheater. Get reserved seats now at livenation.com or charge by phone.
Hey, I'm just looking for.
Don't miss Lady Annabella and Darius Rucker with special guest Thompson Square. Sponsored by GAC. Buy tickets at livenation.com.
The biggest bands in rock. The wildest stage shows on earth. The biggest live event of the summer.
Everybody's gonna move their feet.
Kiss and Motley Crue. The Tour 2012. It doesn't get any better than this. July 31st, Oak Mountain Amphitheater. 2 iconic bands, 1 historic tour. Kiss, Motley Crue. July 31st, Oak Mountain Amphitheater. Reserve seats are on sale now. Buy tickets at livenation.com or charge by phone at 800-745-3000. Kiss and Motley Crue. Buy tickets at livenation.com.
Hi, I'm Drew Brees, NFL quarterback for the New Orleans Saints, here with Bugs Bunny to remind you to get moving every day.
Because when you get moving an hour a day,
you fuel your body and your mind.
So what do you like to throw around the football like Drew?
Skateboard, ride a bike, or dance in your room.
Just move it your way.
And be a player.
Get up and play an hour a day, Doc. Check out how to be a player at letsmove.gov.
Head online to get tips on great ways to get moving every day.
At letsmove.gov. A message from the Ad Council and HHS.
This is Angel, half of the Double Trouble Morning Team on Distant Thunder Radio, and you are locked in to Beyond Ringside.
Confessions of a Potentially Perfect Parent, brought to you by AdoptUsKids.org.
I know more about cooking dinner for a party of 12 than about packing a lunch for a 12-year-old. I know kids like things like fish sticks. Fillets, I get, but sticks? Maybe we can just compromise on mac and cheese. Can you make that with Brie?
You don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. There are thousands of teens in foster care who would love to put up with you. Call 1-888-200-4005 or visit AdoptUsKids.org for more information. A message from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt Us Kids, and the Ad Council.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is Bill Behrens, and you're watching, you're listening, you're experiencing Beyond Ringside, and you are a better person for it. Trust me.
Foreclosure is hard on every member of the family, but your family is not alone. If you're struggling with your mortgage, there is help. To learn about the government's Making Home Affordable program, visit makinghomeaffordable.gov or call 1-888-995-HOPE to speak to a HUD-approved housing counselor. It's free of charge. Visit makinghomeaffordable.gov or call 1-888-995-HOPE today. Brought to you by the U.S. Treasury, HUD, NeighborWorks America, and the Ad Council.
Hi, this is Joe Elliott from Def Leppard for RAD. Planning on going out and having a party? Great, have a lot of fun. But do me a big favour and don't blow it. Always choose a designated driver. Remember, music lives. You should too.
A public service message brought to you by the U.S. Department of Transportation, RAD, the National Association of Broadcasters, and the Ad Council.
Hello, this is Robin Zanner.
Hello, this is Rick Nielsen from Cheap Trick for RAD.
Some people think it's fun to drive drunk, but that's unacceptable.
Be smart. If you drink,
don't drive.
Think ahead and choose a designated driver. Remember, music lives, and so should you.
A public service message brought to you by the U.S. Department of Transportation, RAD, the National Association of Broadcasters, and the Ad Council.
This is Dan the B7, the only Triple Crown champion in the UFC history, and you're listening to Beyond Ringside. You better pay attention, otherwise I know where you live.
On a tremendous Sunday night, welcome back into Beyond Ringside, live from the vault in the Full Range Entertainment Studios. Fast Steady Lane being rejoined by Mark Mabo Bowman.
I'm playing Draw Something.
And the Wicked Nemesis.
I was unaware of this, but apparently the lead singer of Nickelback is just Nicolas Cage with uncooked ramen noodles glued to his head.
I'll buy that. And actually, the jury is still out as to whether or not he and Alanis Morissette can actually write more songs whining and complaining. However, that's a story for American Top 40. I'll let Ryan Seacrest handle the baby wipes stuff like that, plain and simple. I'd like to welcome in our very special guest at this time, ladies and gentlemen, the modern-day hero, Kevin Douglas, right back with us on Beyond Ringside. Kev, welcome back.
Thank you. It's good to be back. Not Superman, just because I got a cape. Not Batman, because I wear armor, but I am the modern-day hero.
Now, before
I got to throw one in there, right? Isn't that when you introduce somebody on the show, you got to have your own little...
It works out.
Mine wasn't the Nickelback one.
You're actually dead on target, and a lot of people don't actually catch that. We set it up to where it's like, I can either be serious or I can just let it rip and have fun with it for a second. Let it rip, have fun. That's what it's all about.
Absolutely.
We broadcast live every Sunday night, 5:30 p.m. Central, 6:30 Eastern, 3:30 Pacific time. And there is a mountain time zone in there somewhere, but actually, as opposed to mountain, I normally prefer to watch Mountain State Wrestling up in the Virginia area. However, different story. Kevin, before we went to break, you were talking about people that you have faced and people that you would like to face.
Absolutely, and I actually left one guy out, a guy that I wrestled in Tennessee at the end of a 3-day title, 3 days, 3 matches, 3 title defense deal in Tennessee and Kentucky, Derek Neal. So he's got to get his props. I'm sure you guys are familiar with Derek.
Oh, yeah. Part of Simple Perfection.
Derek definitely is, in my mind, one of the most natural in-ring competitors I've been in the ring with for a long time. He just kind of natural. He seems like he just rolls out of bed and he just knows how to do it. So I got to give him his props as far as other guys that I've wrestled. And guys, look at the places I've had to go to wrestle these guys. It's not like I've gotten to go 10 minutes from my house. I've had to go to the West Coast, to the Mid-Atlantic, to the it's all across Texas, which is like a country unto itself. So there's a lot of good competition out there, but you got to go get it.
Now, making the second part of the question, I believe, was people that you haven't faced yet.
Yeah, I've looked a little bit at that. I haven't thought a whole lot about it, but since you asked me the question, I've had a little time to think about it. I'm just going to go with guys that are still in the wrestling industry right now, and I want to put these images in fans' minds and other wrestlers and anybody else in my own mind of guys that I think that would ultimately further my career and help me become a better wrestler instead of just saying, oh, this is a dream matchup. I think these are guys that would take me to the limit. First off the bat is Jerry Lynn. I know he's got one more year or he's on a retirement kind of scenario, and I would really love to get a series of matches with him before he decides to hang up the boots. That would be the first one, and I'd like to hear you guys comment on that.
Mabo, go ahead.
Wow. I didn't even know he had another year to go.
Wicked Nemesis, come on board.
Yeah, I think I totally missed it.
Making a reference to somebody like Jerry Lynn, a tried and true veteran in this industry, and some people consider him to be a measuring stick, not only for cruiserweights, but in wrestling in general. Because the factor that when you have someone that you're facing, regardless of your experience level in the business, someone that you know and can trust as a ring general, because part of being inside the ring is being with somebody.
Hold on. First of all, being a vet doesn't make you a ring general.
Wait.
I know guys in this business 13, 14 years that couldn't lead a match if their life depended on it. And second of all, I don't consider Jerry Lynn the measuring stick anymore. Even though, say what you want to about the guy, but William Regal is still the measuring stick to me of smaller guys. And even in that fact, if you want to go a little bit younger, Chris Jericho. Now Daniel Bryan, CM Punk, those guys are doing tremendous things being smaller guys. But this also kind of leads me into what I was going to ask Kevin. But I think that there's a place for veterans. But if a vet isn't not out there, because you're only as good as your opponent, but if a vet isn't out there trying to make the younger guys better, if you've been in business 25, 30 years and you're still trying to get yourself over, first of all, you did a horrible job to begin with. Second of all, that's not your job anymore. Your job as a vet that deep into the business is to help prepare the future, to pave the way for what's coming after you. Okay? If you're out there making the younger guys better, out there making your opponents better, out there spreading knowledge, then to me that would be the measuring stick. And you look what Regal's doing with NXT,
right?
What he's doing. You look at some of the guys in the rings. You cannot tell me what they're doing on NXT and what they're doing in FCW. You cannot tell me that Regal does not have a hand in that. Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. I grew up with watching WCW, and I know William Regal's work when I see it.
Oh, yeah.
To me, he's a measuring stick. And I think if you are a vet, and if you are out there helping guys out, I believe that is the best thing about it. There's young guys out there that are busting their asses that nobody knows anything about because nobody will mention them.
Okay, two things.
Kevin, we've had several people on this before. I've asked this several times, and we usually do a thing called the lightning round. And one of the questions I ask is, name somebody that you know that nobody really knows that you want to get over. And you know how many people actually answer that question? Not many. Well, I don't want to. Either they don't want to, put somebody over, or we're just here to talk about me. I'm glad that you're talking about other guys.
Actually,
well, I completely understand your point about veterans and that sort of thing. On my perspective with Jerry Lynn, definitely a guy I've been around a lot and had around shows, and even when I was breaking in and trying out for the old ECW in 2000, he was always a great mentor type guy. And he's I have a list, and I let him off because I feel like that in some capacity he does do what you said as far as being a veteran and trying to season the younger guys and show them how the proper ways to do it. But also for me, it's an iconic thing for Kevin Douglas, the modern day hero, to say I've got Jerry Lynn as a notch in my belt. And the next guy I was going to segue into was a guy like Rob Van Dam. Because I said Jerry Lynn, I brought Rob Van Dam came right off the top, the next guy. And sure, he's bigger than me and more physical, and I may get my ass kicked. But the point is I want to get in there with guys that are going to push me to the limit, not guys that I'm a fan of. And I think another guy just to have a notch in my belt to wrestle and say, hey, man, I went out there and took RVD to the limit or vice versa, that would be a huge notch in my belt as well. Right along, and that's why I was putting him and Jerry Lynn kind of together because I think of them simultaneously a lot. But that RVD's another guy that I would love to be able to test my skills against.
Well, Kevin, do you think if you were to wrestle against like RVD, do you think that you would learn something from him, or do you think that he would just be like, "Hey, kid," because he doesn't wrestle many of the young guys from what he does on?
I don't look at the veteran or anybody for that matter. Take it for veteran or not. And this doesn't mean I don't believe that veterans should help season younger guys, but I also believe that when you go out there, fans want to see competition. And I think RVD always brings is A game. And if you can't keep up, if you can't hang, then you're not RVD quality, you're not RVD level, and if you get ate up, you get ate up. But if you look at guys that wrestled RVD man up, straight up, and gave him all he could handle, and met him halfway in the ring and took their part, just like a Jerry Lynn or gosh, there are guys, that did it. I think that's where you make your mark, and that's how you make your mark. And RVD can't go out there, or Jerry Lynn can't go out there and try to make, every guy that they wrestle's WrestleMania moment. But I think guys like me and guys like Tokyo Monster see those guys as guys that we can pull a great match out of and say, these guys belong on the level, as an RVD or as a Jerry Lynn, which is really all I'm after. I'm not trying to supplant them or damage their legacy. I just want people to say, man, Kevin Douglas and RVD, that was something worth watching. And that's what I'm after more than anything. And I look at, you can see a lot of good examples, and that's just how I feel about sorry, I'm kind of bouncing, but that's kind of how I feel about what a veteran and how they're supposed to work. I think a veteran manager or a veteran type promoter is a lot more hands-on in that capacity. But when a guy's wrestling competitively, I think it's to the due of the audience to try your best out there to get the most out of yourself and give the thing that you've got, not bring your game down a little bit because you're trying to help this young guy along.
I think, Kevin, you hit the nail on the head there. I'm sorry, I just kind of stole the segment. I do apologize, everybody. But Kevin brings up a good point. You said old school promoter or manager. There's not many of those guys. A lot of people nowadays, and this going around, and now it seems to be like the thing in the NWA is to have the outlaw shows, and you know what outlaw means. And these guys having that outlaw mentality and not really using managers anymore, there's not the manager or the promoter there. That is their place to be more hands-on, to be like, hey, kid, you did this and this and this. Try to watch out for this. And you have to learn from the other guy in the ring now. Do you think that is, am I correct with that? Do you think that...
Yeah, I agree with that. I think that the system of wrestling and the system of learning and the system of passing down knowledge of where it was at the time when we had that, I don't think it's gone forever by any capacity, but right now, that's really not the way it is. Right now, it's a very independent, individual, every man for himself type scenario, and you just have to try to surround yourself the best you can, with people that are going to help you get to where you're trying to go, and in a way that are doing good business with you, that day. Because sometimes things change and sometimes partnerships fall apart. Sometimes people have to move. Sometimes somebody gets an opportunity and you don't, or you get one and they don't, or there's 100 different things that have been, that anybody has seen, but, that's a whole nother conversation, truthfully.
Now, if I may, a couple of things I want to hit real quick. Number one, Wicked, when I made the reference to Ring General and Jerry Lynn in the same sentence, I did use the term can be. Number two, when I made the comment about measuring stick, I said a, not the. So we'll go back and replay that part later if we need to. But, yeah, in a lot of ways...
I agree. I'm sorry to interrupt, but I agree with you with the a measuring stick and not the measuring stick. I think there are a bunch of those out there, a bunch of measuring sticks out there.
There really are, because when you look at the situation overall, I mean, you have to put different in this day and age especially, you put different classifications on different style of work, as well as work ethic, as well as personality, microphone skills, how well do they market themselves out of in the modern day marketplace. Because, and this is something that's been a pet peeve of mine, because of the fact that, okay, and here comes your time machine reference. So at 48 after the hour, 12 before the top, I'm getting this one in. When I first started training and getting in this business, it was try to find a way to get who's going to have the best price as far as radio commercials, who's going to have the best price for television, or television ads or print ads. You go around and you're handing out flyers and putting them on phone poles and in store windows, praying that some other outlaw's not going to rip them out of the window just because they want to either tear your show down or build their show up. Nowadays, you've got an opportunity in this day and age, putting matches on YouTube, putting promotional stuff on YouTube, Daily Motion, all the different video sites that are out there, even Facebook video, getting your own Twitter account and getting the word out there, building followers, getting people to follow you. And it's like, hey, I'm going to be in this area on this night. Case point scenario, the fan page that we run here at BR. I have a standing invitation for wrestling, mixed martial arts, boxing, sporting promoters to link event links to their either websites or their Facebook event pages. on that site any day of the week. Put the posters up on our site, and I'll extend. And if you're not the promoter for the event, but you want to try to get the word out, put the poster up there. Link it to us, tag us on it, log it up there yourself. It's fine with me. And this is something that I see that some people still don't quite seem to get their head around, and that is marketing in this day and age. And I say that to bring out this particular question. We have a chance to watching the National Wrestling Alliance and all the different member and affiliate promotions, noting the titles, whether they be board control titles or whether they be promotion-based titles. You have a chance to, you've worked with NWA Championship Wrestling from Hollywood, Dave Marquez and company. They run a strong promotion out on the West Coast. They are great about marketing. They are great about getting the word out. They use not only their KDOC venue as far as domestic television, but they also run the TV show through their website, NWAHollywood.com. And you yourself have said that you've been on their show, I think it was 6 times since the first of the year?
Yes.
Now, you have venues like that which are very clear and open about the way they promote. Yet you have other, and I'm not just going to lump the NWA in on this. That would be unfair of me to do that, because you've got a ton of promotions around the country in the lower 48 that could learn from that business model of advertising and marketing, could they not?
Oh, sure they could.
And then I watch you on your Facebook page as far as getting updates as far as upcoming appearances. If you've got the poster, you put it up there, or it's like something as simple as, if you're in the if you're going to be in any other time, I could pull the exact name, Glendale. I was trying to remember Glendale. Catch me at Championship Wrestling from Hollywood, and that's something I tip my hat for, because nowadays more than ever before, it's easier to get the word out. Now, having made those appearances with the NWA Hollywood promotion. And I almost said Rod Dovlin, but that is Mach 1. I apologize. 2 NWA promotions that close to each other. What is this, Tennessee? And, sorry, had to get that one in. When you have a chance to make the trip out west, and then you're going to be appearing later on, I believe you've got an appearance coming up in the Northeast, or the almost Northeastern area with NWA Dog.
Yes.
And a number of different promotions around the country. Do you see what I refer to as being able to get out there and market? You see some promotions that don't market as strong as others do, right?
Well, of course. If I can elaborate on that a little bit.
Sure, take your time.
I think that you're going to have that, and I think that's the nature of, the independent business, is that some businesses are going to be able to pull together the resources better and put together the show better and have more of a well put together production. And I think that comes a lot with experience. When you talk about Dave Marquez, he's had a lot of experience with a lot of different companies, and there's a lot of people involved in that company that have had a lot of experience with successful companies where everyone's trying to go. So there's a lot of inside knowledge there that you're going to get that you just can't get anywhere else. And I think that that's just the nature of the way things pull together. Some of the other promotions are upstart promotions or just trying to get their start doing stuff. And that I'm not making excuses by any stretch. I have another whole philosophy on that. But as far as the NWA goes, the way that it's set up, it's very free and independent. So the companies have the freedom to do the best that they can and still be affiliated with, I'm sure, some sort of, I know they have some regulations, because honestly, working for the NWA on the independents is not like working for any other independents. It's much more professional as a whole.
Right. Now, loaded question, slight segue, but sticking with the West Coast thing for a second. When you get the call and you're asked to come out there for the KDOC TV tapings, does it add a little bit more pressure in the mind of the modern day hero, or do you just sit back and say, hey, cool, I'm going to Cali?
Man, this is really emotional for me, but I'm kind of an emotionally driven person. But it's the closest thing that gets me the closest to the World Wrestling Entertainment experiences I can get right now on the indies. And to me, that's what really it's all about. Like money, fame, all that stuff is it's all kind of jumbled in there with like secondary goals. But just the feeling of being part of something huge, with the intensity and the pressure back in the locker room, and and I'm, getting advice from Percy Pringle, Paul Bearer, about what I need to do in wrestling for my future. And then all of a sudden you feel that buzz in the locker room, and we look at each other and our eyes light up, and it's like, it's showtime. And everybody's just adrenaline's flowing because everybody there, it means so much. And that's what the WWE has, and some of the, that you just, it's an addiction in a way. It's a feeling that's just unmatched, and the seriousness that everybody takes it. I was brought up that way in wrestling, and to me, it's not pressure at all. It's the opposite. It's like a home feeling. It's like, this is where I need to be. The WWE felt that way, and anytime I've been a part of a company like that, whether it be the ECW, the original, or even the newer rendition, being in that environment makes me feel like that's where I need to be, and when I'm not, it just makes me drive harder to put together the pieces that I have to do to get where I have to want, where I want to go.
Maybo, come on back in.
All right. Now, you've got your various styles of wrestling throughout the world. I mean, even junior heavyweights or cruiserweights, whatever you want to call them, are their own style of pro wrestling. Now, out of the, Japanese junior heavyweights, the Mexican Lucha Libre junior heavyweights, the European junior heavyweights, which style do you personally kind of lean towards? And out of those three major groups, which would you most like to compete against in your career?
If you're asking me for an ideal, for a guy my size, I'd say Shawn Michaels in 1997. Anything he was doing, especially Shawn Michaels and Stone Cold Steve Austin, I feel like that was the epitome of storytelling and athletic wrestling. You had two professional NFL, MLB caliber athletes out there telling stories right off of the peak of the storytelling age in the 80s and all the characters. So to me, it was like a culmination of that athletic wrestling style that was to come, but it also still had a lot of that storytelling mystique about it that you had in the age before. And to me, just Shawn Michaels of that time, and even Stone Cold Steve Austin in a small handful of other group of guys at that time, just had all of it. There was Lucha Libre, there was, storytelling, there was athleticism, there was physicality, there was shoot fighting, there was a little bit of everything in there. And I think that, that to me is the ideal, and for me, what I strive for as far as like when I'm trying to be the best I can be, I think that for a guy like me in my position, it's a very lofty goal, but it's not something I can say, oh, that's not realistic if I don't put in the work.
Wicked Nemesis, come on in.
How do you feel about steroids in the world of professional wrestling?
That's a super loaded question, but I'll answer it, no problem. If there's drug testing and if there's control, substance-wise, I believe that every company should strive for that. And if it's real and they really do it, I think that that's the way to go. People will take you more seriously as athletes and, entertainers as well. If you're not drug testing, you're being irresponsible and you're not, it's just the way it is. On the independents, it's one of those deals where it's a moral issue and a legal issue to me. I don't do it. I don't want to get arrested. I don't want to go to jail. I know that if I ever got a call from a major company, I would have to pass a drug test. And that's just me. But that's just my morals and my ethics and what I believe in. But I don't judge other guys either, and I'm not going to sit and go on some anti-steroid campaign either, because at the same time, the stuff that some of these guys take they're getting it prescribed to them or whatever, and that again, I don't delve too much into it, but I know that there's a bunch of bad guys out there, and it's not really. I know that I'm the modern day hero, but I'm not a competition yet. I do most of my battles in the ring, and I think that's up to the people running the shows, putting the shows together, that if they want control in that area, they need to take control of the company and take control of the industry and say, we're not having this. For a guy like me and my size, I think it would only help me, personally.
You make the reference to the cape, and I have to ask. The 1970s pop rock track made the reference to you don't tug on Superman's cape. What happens if you tug on the modern-day hero's cape?
It's a lot. It's a matter of how I'm feeling that day. You know, it's a rigorous lifestyle. Being a modern day hero. Some days you just are human and you have a rough day, or you have a hangover because you're celebrating, and you go off on somebody on that capacity. So it just depends on the day. But ideally, in my mind, I want to be an honorable person. So usually I'm pretty lenient about it. I've had a few instances, but most of the time, if you ask me nicely, I'll let you wear the cape and feel what it's like to be a modern day hero for a while.
We're coming up on the top of the hour, and we could easily go a lot longer on this. Before I go any further, I do want to ask, upcoming appearances, where are you going to be in the very near future?
The very near future. The appearances definitely of note are going to be coming up in July. Starting with one of the companies that my friend Rodney Mack and Jazz run, DPW in Louisiana is putting on a big promotion down in Lafayette on July 7th. I'm pretty sure I have a big match there against somebody that's a big name out there. They've got a lot of big names on the card. I don't have any off the top of my head just because I'm not the promoter currently, and I just don't know. But I do know that on October 10th, that following Tuesday, I'll be in West Virginia for NWA Mountain State wrestling Chase Owens.
Nice.
The number one contender for the NWA World Junior Heavyweight Championship. Finally gets his rematch. So I've not gotten to see our match on video or anything last time, so I haven't got to really scout how it went. I just can only go off memory. But I know it was a really physical match, and I know that just like me, Chase can go 30 minutes. And, I think him and I have got a few time limit draws in us but before anything's really going to get settled. But you never know, because I think him and I could go an hour, and I think it would be just as entertaining as watching 5 matches over an hour to watch me and Chase Owens go out there and give it all we've got and lay it on the line for an hour. So anyhow, we've got that on Tuesday, and that's in West Virginia for NWA Mountain State. And then on Friday, Matt Conrad, who's been calling me out and pretty much just being disrespectful since I won the title, and jumped me the night I won the belt, and since then has just talked on the internet and has never shown his face. So like your true super villain, the Reaper, Matt Conrad, he's going to get his on Thursday, I believe it is, in West Virginia for NWA Mountain State. No, that's Friday for NWA Mountain State in West Virginia. So 2 top contenders get their shot on the weekdays, and then NWA Dog has a really big show planned with Jerry Lynn versus Damian Wayne, and then me versus Sebastian Cruz for the NWA World Junior Heavyweight Championship. And Sebastian Cruz, he's trying to play the poor me role. He's trying to get sympathy. He's trying to do the butt kiss route, and he's a very good wrestler. He doesn't have to do that. He should just take his butt whooping and just like it. So, but he'll get to find out what it's all about, and hopefully I can get some bad blood going there. And maybe we can get a fight on his home turf in Puerto Rico, and maybe he can come get a fight down here in Texas on my home turf. So I'm wanting to do a lot of that stuff. I'm really wanting to get some of these top contenders here to Texas, but not enough pressure is being put on the Texas promoters by the fans. So we're just kind of waiting it out on that. I have to wrestle on the road all the time instead of getting to wrestle these guys at home.
Now, I've been meaning to ask, what exactly is your home promotion in Texas?
Well, and I don't mean that in a negative way either towards Texas Stampede Wrestling, which is an affiliate of NWA Lone Star or NWA Houston. Those 2 companies have definitely stepped up. They've put a lot of time and effort into bringing some credibility to the NWA here in Texas and also to the NWA Junior Heavyweight Division. They were integral players in getting me exposure on my title, on the run to getting my contendership and all of that. And since then have been throwing challenger after challenger at me. But I still, and my big match with Tokyo Monster came in Dallas, my own hometown. So I did get a home match. Don't get me wrong, but I'd like to see Nick Madrid get a shot here in my hometown. I'd like to see Chase Owens get a shot here in Texas. I'd like to see Sebastian Cruz get a shot down here in Texas. I'd like to see that, on my home turf. The champion deserves that too. in my mind. So I've just and they have done again. I've done a lot. They've done a lot. Rudy Russo down here in Texas is one hell of a wrestler that I've had to really escape from and had a really good feud with as well. I don't mean to bash it. I know it kind of came across as negative, but I don't mean it like that. I just mean that I think we should see more of these guys from the outer places of the NWA coming here to Texas and getting the hostile crowd that I'm getting when I go out there on the road.
Oh, believe me, I understand that completely. I know exactly where you're coming from on that. Now, how can people find you on this wonderful thing called the World Wide Web?
Facebook is pretty easy. It's facebook.com/Modern Day Hero 247 or Modern Day Hero if you go under search. That will link you up to my Facebook page and also the fan page. And then I do have a website, themoderndayhero.com. Yeah. And that'll link you to all my other, all of the social media like Twitter and YouTube and Facebook. But just for the sake of having it, on YouTube, my channel is Kevin Douglas 247, all one word. And my Twitter is Kevin Douglas 247. So you can find me on both of those places. And I do all kinds of cool stuff, and I've rescued dogs out of rivers and helped old ladies cross streets and helped got the cat out of the tree, and you never know what you're going to see on the Modern Day Heroes YouTube channel, so or on Twitter. Who knows what's going? I live a pretty interesting lifestyle, so it's definitely something worth checking out. So I'd really appreciate people coming by and checking it out and showing me some support.
If you've got a second, can you go one more round?
Oh, sure.
Okay, Mabo, one more round with a Modern Day Hero.
Who is the Modern Day Hero's favorite superhero?
Oh, my favorite superhero, man. Okay, I gotta say it. It's Daredevil. I really, it's hard between Daredevil and Spider-Man, but I like that Spider-Man's a normal guy. That's my favorite thing. But Daredevil because he's blind. He's a superhero with, I kind of guess I have an extra bit of sympathy for him. I like how he's kind of humanistic. He's more human, and he deals with like the grime of the city, and he's really, an unthanked, good guy. And I like that about him, and I love reading his stories, especially like the Frank Miller versions with all of Frank Miller's awesome artwork. I'm a big comic book fan, and the Modern Day Hero, actually, I'm working on a comic book for him, and maybe even a little short film here within the next few months. And really, you guys are going to get to see what I can do outside of the ring, and in the fantasy world, as far as in comics and movies and anything in that realm, just to kind of expand the Modern Day Hero and kind of show you that he's more than what you thought he was, and just kind of really just keeping my career going as an entertainer and a professional wrestler, and as a superhero, a comic character. So. That's where that led.
Wicked Nemesis, one more round.
I'm going to have to ask you to be a fan for a second. Who is your favorite of all time? Who's the one guy that no matter what, even after, as long as you've been in this business, that you're still like, man, that guy's matches.
Oh, my gosh. Can I give you just like a couple? Just so instead of just one? Okay, cool. The first person I have to say is Ric Flair. Mainly because I feel like that no matter who he's ever wrestled, because he's always done so good against them. From Rey Mysterio when he's an old man to some of his great Iron Man style matches against some of those just grown ass men of the 70s and the 80s. It's just one of those deals where it's like it's just really a guy that gave up everything of himself, and no matter what people say about him on a personal level, he gave of himself to the fans more than anybody, I think, maybe ever. And I just have the utmost regard and respect for him. And Rey Mysterio is another guy that I like a lot because it made it possible in a lot of ways for me in my own mind that I could pursue a career in professional wrestling. And it's almost a thankful position for me that he kind of created a spot. And now WWE has no problem having spots for guys like us that are smaller guys that have that larger than life thing about them. And I guess that's where I might have to leave it. Those are two guys that influenced me the most. I know there's a bunch of other guys. I'm also a big fan of the trainer, my trainer, the Junkyard Dog, just because he was he was to me like Hulk Hogan, you know, like he just had something else about him, you know, like again, kind of like Ric Flair. They just really, anytime I watched him, I got electrified, you know. And I guess mostly that's where I come from as a fan, is that era. As a kid, Kerry Von Erich was my favorite, but you said as I became a wrestler, you know, I really started to recognize some of that stuff and who the real greats were.
Anytime you'd like to come back on, and believe me, like I said, we could easily probably go another hour and still have brand new questions coming at you. But the door is definitely open. We would love it if you could come back and join us sometime.
Thank you. I appreciate it. And I'm going to throw one last little plug in there on my YouTube channel. If you want to see me against the best in the world, Daniel Bryan, there is a match of me and him. We had a match on local pay-per-view back in 2008 when I proclaimed myself as the best pound-for-pound wrestler in the world, and PWI magazine had proclaimed him pound for pound, and I decided that, you know what, I was going to call him out, and situations worked out that he ended up in town, and I got my clean victory over Daniel Bryan. So that's my claim to the throne as far as he goes. So I'd like for everybody to go check that out and check out my YouTube page and really get to know me, and I really appreciate you guys having me on here. And like I said, just name me the next time you want me on, and I'll be here.
You got a deal. We'll hold you to that. Oh, I just remembered what I was going to ask you on the one more round. As the legend of the modern-day hero grows, and the notoriety builds, and the fan base expands that much more exponentially, you know that there's going to have to be a movie made. For this time frame right now in your life and your career, who would play the modern-day hero, Kevin Douglas?
Michael Fassbender, the guy that plays Magneto in the new X-Men. He would be perfect.
Okay, that definitely works.
Yeah, he would be perfect. He was also in 300. I would have picked Andy Whitfield, who's Spartacus, but instead I'll go with my second favorite. But Andy Whitfield, rest in peace.
Ladies and gentlemen, the modern-day hero, Kevin Douglas.
Did I lose you?
No,
yes.
We're here.
Okay.
The modern-day hero, Kevin Douglas, has just gone beyond ringside. Hang tight with us through the break, and we'll be back in just a few minutes.
Hi, NBA forward Kevin Durant from the Oklahoma City Thunder, here with Bugs Bunny and Daffy Duck to remind you to get moving every day.
Because when you get moving an hour a day,
you'll have more energy to do the things you like to do.
And that's a slam dunk.
Whether you like to shoot hoops like me, skateboard, ride a bike,
or dance on your roof,
be a player.
Get up, play, and move it your way.
Head online to get tips on great ways to get moving every day.
Check out how to be a player at letsmove.gov. A message from the Ad Council and HHS.
Oh, yes! This is Paul Bearer, and some people call me Percy Pringle III. You're locked in to Beyond Ringside.
Let me drive.
How do you know when it's time to give up the keys? When your dog grabs your keys from your lap and your lap is on the floor. Yep, it's Jeff Foxworthy for RAD saying, when you party, be sure to designate before you celebrate.
If you want to make it home alive, let me drive.
A public service announcement brought to you by the U.S. Department of Transportation, RAD, the National Association of Broadcasters, and the Ad Council.
Please don't drink and drive. It's not fun.
This is the Bee's Knees, the Cats Pajamas, and the whole shebang. Johnny Gargano, and you're locked in to Beyond Ringside.
Hi, I'm Ryan Seacrest for RAD. Over 300 people in this country are killed every week by a drunk driver. That's the equivalent of 2 747 plane crashes every single week. And the problem isn't going away unless we all do our part to stop it. So if you see someone who's about to drive after drinking, get the keys. Don't leave it up to anyone else. Friends don't let friends drive drunk.
A public service announcement brought to you by RAD, the National Association of Broadcasters, and the Ad Council.
It's me. It's that D to the O to the double G. Always sitting next year, near doggy style, the road dog Jesse James, and you're locked in to Beyond Ringside. Get it? Got it? Good.
Hi, this is Jamie McMurray here for RAD, the entertainment industry's voice for road safety. Want to make a difference? It's simple. Be responsible. Plan ahead. Designate before you celebrate. Friends don't let friends drive drunk.
car. Yes, I'm gonna be a
A
star.
public service message brought to you by the U.S. Department of Transportation, RAD, the National Association of Broadcasters, and the Ad Council.
This is Angel Orsini.
This is the Human Hand Grenade, Danny Only.
This is Dirty Dutch Mantel.
This is Liz Savage.
This is Vinny O'Brien, 2010 Golden Glove champion. This is Gabe Sapolsky from Dragon Gate USA and Evolve Pro Wrestling, and you're locked into Beyond Ringside.
This is Pam Allen, daughter of Gordon Soley, and you are locked in on Beyond Ringside.
Welcome to Move Time Radio, presented by the Arthritis Foundation. Ah, that's a good one. Get up and dance, baby. If you're driving, pull over to the shoulder. If you're at work, yeah, time to violate the employee handbook. See, movement is just one of the ways to help fight osteoarthritis pain. Another is weight loss. You get rid of just 1 pound, that's 4 pounds of pressure off each knee. For more information on managing pain, visit fightarthritispain.org, baby. This message is brought to you by the Arthritis Foundation and the Ad Council.
This is Jacoby Boykins, a.k.a. the Alabama Ambassador, Mr. 256, and you are locked in to Beyond Ringside.
And you might be right. Who knows? Welcome back in. 15 minutes after the top of the hour, live on Beyond Ringside. Sunday night, Fast Eddie Lane on this side of the control panel. Mabo, come on in.
Guess who, Eddie, you don't know this, but you might know this, but you don't know this, but guess who's listening in right now?
Las Vegas.
Yes! Tunsy is listening in. I don't know how often he listens in, but I consider it a treat for when he listens in. So, Tunsy, if you can hear this, flash your boob on Twitter.
And Daryl, glad to see you in the chat room as well. Las Vegas, glad to have you on board. Wicked Nemesis, come on in, buddy.
You know, it's not every time that somebody can bring their trump card to the table and be like, oh, the NWA Women's World Champion said for love. I love BME.
Exactly. Let's run this thing, lightning round real quick. By the way, also going to open up the phone lines for the next few minutes. I dare you, 205-316-9900 on the live edition. If you're listening on the replay, don't call.
No, I dare you all to call.
During the replay?
Yes.
All right, couple of things I want to hit on real quick, and let's run them light speed. Note, of course, SmackDown, Friday night, the opening with Big Show and Brodus Clay. Beautifully done. I was even okay with the interference of David Otunga, and I can't stand David Otunga. He is just vanilla as hell. He is just like not even toasted bread, much less.
So basically what you're saying is for a chocolate man, he's awfully vanilla?
I wasn't even going to reference chocolate. Thanks for playing. Question, though. If you got a chance to see it, do you agree or disagree? They started out the way they should have. Mabo.
Well, honestly, you're looking at what's going to be just what you haven't really seen since the days of like Undertaker and Kane, or pretty much Undertaker taking on any menagerie of monsters that came down the pike. You're going to see just two big, scary men who could probably damage a Golden Corral beyond repair, with the exception of myself and Tunsy. just go at it tooth and nail. I think it's going to be pretty cool. I thought Brodus showing that he's not not all fun and games and dancing jigglies and all that stuff. He actually came down and got up in Show's face, so to speak. So I thought it was done pretty good.
Wicked Nemesis.
Well, here's what we have. Whenever Brodus was being pushed as he was originally, Mabel and I were first, and I will admit this, I'm sure Mabel will too. We absolutely 100% hated the Brodus Clay gimmick because they had a chance to make a monster and did not. Now, Chill Mascaris, Stan Grove of this very ring, and myself have had this discussion numerous times. I said that the best thing they could have done was to turn Big Show. Okay, you turn Big Show. Big Show can help out as he did Kofi Kingston and R-Truth because he beats those guys up, it takes them out, and what happens? All of a sudden, Epico and Primo and the Primetime Players had been pushed up because they needed at least, a tag team match. So Big Show has now helped Brodus Clay turn into a monster. Not only does Brodus show he can entertain, but you know what? Now he's showing that he's not scared of the Big Show. And a kicked-off Big Show on top of that. So kudos, WWE, kudos. Now, don't say that too often.
No, I don't think any of us do. Lo and behold, shifting gears a little bit, TNA has apparently taken legal action against former wrestler Scott Steiner following months of disparaging remarks about TNA, Hulk Hogan, and other employees. That is according to the Nashville City paper. TNA has filed a verified complaint, restraining order, this past week to prevent Steiner from making any more comments of that ilk. If he's out of his contract, that's not much really you can do. If he's still under contract, there's something you can do. Mabo, your thoughts?
Well, yeah, I don't think he's under contract anymore. I think they've let him go. So, is TNA going, sitting there basically saying, Scott Steiner hurt our feelings? I mean, if that's what they're doing, if that's why they're doing this, then good Lord, you guys are a bunch of vaginas. Calm down. I mean, technically, it's more, from what I've seen about the rants and stuff, it's really more directed towards Bischoff of everything, and then, followed closely by Hogan and how they're, running TNA. At least that's what I read from it. It's not really against TNA. So, if they're trying to, what are they trying to do? Put a gag order on him or something?
Pretty much.
What are they, Howard C. Cross?
I don't think they're that important.
But I mean, seriously? Oh my God. So if they're going to do that, what's the difference between them saying that against Scott Steiner than me getting on there and, using poor grammar like Scott Steiner or Witch Hazel and sitting there and saying and running them down? Are they going to eventually, try to put some kind of restraining order on me? Because I consider myself a star. I mean, I am one of the many stars of Beyond Ringside, so, and I have just as much clout and pull as Scott Steiner, so am I next to get a lawsuit from TNA? I mean, come on. TNA, if you're listening, which, I know you can't afford sneaky sneaks like Vince does, but if somebody connected to TNA is listening, go to the front office and you tell them, MA_BO over on Twitter, said, quit being vaginas. I know Brooks the one that has the set of nuts in the whole Hogan family. Get Brooks nuts. Now trending worldwide on Twitter, Brooks nuts. And frickin' grow up. Let Scott Steiner go ahead and ramble and do what he has to do.
Wicked Nemesis, your thoughts?
Well, first of all, you all know how I feel about if you really don't like somebody or something, the best thing to do is just to not mention them. The more you mention them, especially by name, the more exposure they get. For those of us that have seen Scott Steiner's rants, where he starts talking about the Playboy for Brooke and her singing just like that. I'm sure there's some people out there that were like, whoa, Brooke sings? Brooke was in Playboy? So he actually put more money in their pocket, so good job, Steiner. Now, TNA doing what they do, if Scott Steiner is still getting any kind of royalties or any kind of checks from TNA, then he probably needs to stop doing that. But if he's completely let go, well, then you know what? Let them continue on. I would just make sure, if I was TNA, that Scott Steiner at least punctuated every now and then and spelled Impact right, because sometimes he spells Impact EMPACT, which I find amusing because I'm sure he doesn't understand what he's doing.
I think that if he's not under contract, they really don't.
That's Scott Steiner has become Grimlock of the Dinobots in his old age.
Oh, God.
I want to punch Scott Steiner in the thigh and push him over and see how long it takes him to get up. Why can't I? I'm stuck.
Oh, God help me.
Doesn't that sound like something that the Joker would do?
Yeah, it does.
Me this, Batman.
Now, speaking of, not necessarily, slight shifting of the gears, words that were brought into light this week, this past Thursday on Impact. And I would like to go ahead and play this soundbite right here.
So let me lay out option C really, really simply for you. I'm willing to hand over the X Division title for a shot at Bobby Roode's World Heavyweight Championship under one condition. And that condition is that I set the standard moving forward, which means the opportunity that you're giving me each and every year, whoever holds the X Division Championship has that same opportunity. That every year at Destination X, whoever the champion is can trade this championship in for a shot at the World Heavyweight title. That, my friend, will make this belt even more important and even more prestigious than it already is. That's option C, and those are my conditions.
And in all sincerity, I like option C. I honestly I made a reference in a certain Facebook group earlier this week, and I asked the question, do you feel that the X Division title just vaulted past the Money in the Bank briefcase on the evolutionary scale and on the ladder of importance in pro wrestling? I agree with the comment that was made that the X Division title is what that company was built around for the longest time. I do believe that Austin Aries is probably the strongest person to have held the X Division title in a little while. But I believe that is an ascending scale because I don't think anybody that has held that belt lately has discredited that belt or brought it down. I think that if it's anything, it's poor storyline writing in TNA, Impact Wrestling. But to have that situation brought into play elevates the X Division title, knowing the fact that someone who might not be on that A-list has a chance to jump to that A-list by virtue of the factor of being... Now, if it's the only drawback to that scenario is if the championship has changed hands within 30 days or 2 weeks previous to Destination X. But if that person has held that belt, such as in the case of Aries, who has held that belt for a while, I think that does elevate that championship to being the true stepping stone. It parallels to what the United States Heavyweight Championship did in Jim Crockett Promotions National Wrestling Alliance World Championship Wrestling, because everybody recognized the U.S. Championship as a stepping stone to the World Heavyweight title. Unfortunately, in this vantage point, let me cover. I'll move on to that point based on what I've said up to this point. Mabo, your thoughts?
Well, I mean, as long as it's going to limit, as long as the X Division has a weight limit on it, though, it's kind of maybe denying somebody who is like Samoa Joe. You know what I'm saying? Remember when Samoa Joe had the belt, and when he was the X Division champion, he did use that sort of as a stepping stone to try to get to the heavyweight scene. But I mean, now that they've got a weight limit on it, that's kind of an unfair advantage to those who might be just as good, if not better, than the current X Division champion, but they may not be in the title hunt or getting pushed strong in the title scene. So, I mean, I think it's a great idea, but are they, I just don't think it's fair as long as they keep a weight limit on it. And that way you can't sit there and say it's a true stepping stone like at one point the Intercontinental or the, in the old WWF days or the U.S. title in the old, NWA, WCW days. Now, is Austin going to have to relinquish the belt to get this title shot?
Yes.
Okay, if he's having to relinquish, does that mean next year, let's say, I don't know, let's just go wacky and go, let's say Robbie E. has held the belt for 3 or 4 months.
Right.
Okay. Is he going to have to give up the belt, next year?
Yes.
To get his title shot?
Yes.
Okay, are you going to have somebody who sits there, do you think, I mean, of course, we're projecting years down the road, which we know nothing's going to last past this coming December, but is there going to be an X Division guy who sits there and goes, never mind, I'm going to keep my X Division title? Hell, who's to say TNA is going to be around? This could be a one-time only thing. Maybe next year, but who knows in 2014. So, I don't know. I mean, it was a cool thing to say and do and kind of, solidify Austin Aries even more. But, sure, okay, whatever.
Wicked Nemesis, come on in.
If they're going to put the X Division title, as Mabo said, under weight restrictions, this is the worst idea ever. But on top of that, let's just break it down to its most fundamental basic. If they're going to make the X Division pretty much the number one contender, if not just for that time, what the hell are they going to do with the guys that leave from the WWE? Who else are they going to put over? Their own guys? You guys are crazy.
Okay. Moving on. No, I thought you were setting yourself up for an elongated point. Tell you what, before we do that,
basic enough, the simple fact that stupidish crap that they would put over the WWE guys the ex-WWE guys over their own guys, and they put a weight limit on something, and now they've overjumped the TV champion to install the X Division champion, if not only for once a year, and you put a weight restriction on it. Robbie E. does not need to be in the title hunt. Eric Young needs to have a title shot outside of the X Division. Make it because he's busted his ass, not because he's the freaking X Division. Just because you can climb a scaffold and you can do a decent arm drag doesn't mean you need to be in the main event, people. I'm sorry. Wipe your feet before you get in the ring, you stupid asses.
Hold that thought. Go to the bottom of the hour break. We'll be back in 4 right here on the Beyond Ringside Radio Network.
Hi there, this is Sammy Hagar here for RAD, the entertainment industry's voice for road safety. Now, style's a personal thing, and your lifestyle is your business. But if you take it on the road, it becomes everybody else's business. Please, plan ahead. Designate before you celebrate. Because friends do not let friends drive drunk.
A public service message brought to you by RAD, the National Association of Broadcasters, and the Ad Council.
Aloha, this is Tracy Taylor, all the way from Honolulu, Hawaii, the island girl, and you're locked into Beyond Ringside.
Nancy O'Dell here for RAD, recording artists, actors, and athletes against drunk driving. You know, style is a personal thing, and your lifestyle is your business. But if you take it on the road, then it becomes everybody's business. So please plan ahead, call a cab, or designate a driver before the party starts. Friends, don't let friends drive drunk.
Baby, you can drive my car.
A public service message brought to you by the U.S. Department of Transportation, RAD, the National Association of Broadcasters, and the Ad Council.
If your walls could talk, what would they say? I have sent children into fits of rage.
I am responsible for a child's speech impediment.
I am the reason a child can't read. Just because you can't see lead paint doesn't mean it's not on walls, doors, windows, and sills. Today, lead paint poisoning affects over 1 million children. If your home was built before 1978, log on to leadfreekids.org or call 800-424-LEAD.
Brought to you by the Coalition to End Childhood Lead Poisoning, EPA, HUD, and the Ad Council.
Hi, this is Ozzy Osbourne. For many years, you know I've had a drink problem, and I'm trying to battle that problem every single day. But one thing I don't drive my car when I'm drinking. I get someone to drive me. Do not drink and drive. It's the stupidest thing. If you drink, just don't drive. Not only are you going to hurt yourself, you may hurt some other person, and you wouldn't want that on your conscience, would you?
A public service announcement brought to you by the U.S. Department of Transportation, RAD, the National Association of Broadcasters, and the Ad Council.
The odds of becoming a signed artist and having 3 #1 albums? 1 in 100 million. The odds of going on to win 6 Grammy Awards? 1 in 1.4 million. The odds of this performer having a child diagnosed with autism? 1 in 110. I'm Toni Braxton, and I encourage you to learn the signs of autism at autismspeaks.org. Autism Speaks. It's time to listen. Brought to you by Autism Speaks and the Ad Council.
We all lock our doors at night to keep our family safe, but we can't so easily lock out H1N1 flu.
Truth is, you can. The simplest and safest protection against H1N1 recommended by the CDC is vaccination. The H1N1 vaccine is safe, effective, and the most important step to keeping healthy.
Stop H1N1 at the door. Keep it away from your family.
Get yourself and the ones you love vaccinated. Visit flu.gov to get a vaccination near you.
Be the one to protect your family from H1N1.
Brought to you by the Ad Council and the Department of Health and Human Services.
Hi there, this is Sammy Hagar here for RAD, the entertainment industry's voice for road safety. Now, style's a personal thing, and your lifestyle is your business. But if you take it on the road, it becomes everybody else's business. Please, plan ahead. Designate before you celebrate. Because friends do not let friends drive drunk.
A public service message brought to you by RAD, the National Association of Broadcasters, and the Ad Council.
You must be your fairy godmother. Yes.
It doesn't take a fairy godmother to tell you that the right fit means everything.
Good heavens, child. You can't go in that.
Children under 4'9" need to be in a booster seat because they aren't ready for adult safety belts alone. Remember that 4'9" is the magic number, and get your little pumpkin there safely in a booster seat.
Oh, thank you.
For more information, visit boosterseat.gov. This has been a message from the U.S. Department of Transportation and the Ad Council.
This is Kenny Kip Kennedy, master of Kenny's Kempo Karate.
Hier spricht Tassilo Jung von Western Extreme Wrestling.
This is the Dark Child, Chance Crawford, NWA National Heavyweight Champion.
This is the Temptation, Sean Tempers.
This is Jacoby Boykins, a.k.a. the Alabama Ambassador, Mr. 256.
This is the Bee's Knees, the Cats Pajamas, and the whole shebang. Johnny Gargano.
This is Bill Darrens, and you're watching, you're listening, you're experiencing Beyond Ringside. And you are a better person for it. Trust me.
The home run round. Gotta love it. Welcome back into Beyond Ringside, live on a Sunday night. Fast Eddie Lane behind the control panel. Welcome you back in, Mark Mabo Bowman.
Dude, what was that weird, creepy... just like, what the hell was that, man?
No idea.
Holy crap. Creeper.
Mabo's lost his mind again. Wicked Nemesis, welcome back.
I wonder who has had more starts and stops through their career, Joey Lightning or John Slaughter?
I know of 3 from Joey Lightning, and they were all injuries. No, 2.
That's bull crap. It can't work.
Say what?
Keep going, I guess.
Meanwhile, back at the ranch, words that we were happy to hear from this past Sunday night.
Thing working? Yes, sir.
Go do it.
John Laurinaitis!
Oh my God, it's fun.
Now, that would normally be a reason for most of us to stand up and applaud. And I'm going to get another replay of this. But am I the only one that did not hear the letter F being enunciated by Vince on that microphone? All I heard was, "You're ired." I didn't hear fired. I heard ired. Mabo, did you hear that?
Why are we even talking about this? What relevance does this have? That something maybe, the microphone shorted out for a second? Or maybe Vince blew it out when he was all like making the F noise? I mean, what the blue hell, what relevance does this have? Other than there was an audio slip-up.
Because that audio slip-up can actually come back into play down the road if they want to bring the character back.
If they're ridiculously retarded, yes, it could.
This is WWE we're talking about. Anything can happen with that.
This is WWE, not TNA.
Okay. Wicked Nemesis, your thought?
Yeah, I think it was just an audio slip-up.
I've got a really bad feeling about that. Because I don't.
You should stop eating pineapple pizza so late.
Which really sounds like a good idea, and that's your 3rd pizza reference of the show, thanks. Which actually, that's what I was in the mood to do. I was actually going to call and order pizza in a minute.
Pizza.
Mm-hmm.
Turtle.
So what?
Turtle power.
There you go. Not sure which one I would be. Roadkill is probably what I'd be. No, the way that hit me when I was watching it originally, and the more I listened to it, the more it's like, that just really doesn't sound like an accident. Because if that was the case, there would have been other syllables that could have happened with. And I think, like I said, just call it a gut instinct. I don't really think that we've seen the last of Laurinaitis on WWE programming. So, let me go ahead and do this, and I have a feeling I know where this is going to go. I'll try this.
SmackDown. We have seen the end of that. They said that he's gonna be brought back as assistant to the board of directors or whatever. But I mean, you're overthinking this, Eddie. I'm sorry, Wiki. Go ahead.
We've got a problem in the phone system. Something happened. I don't know. There we go. Okay, is everybody in? Mabo, you there? Hang on.
Most days go by without a whole lot of surprises. But what if a disaster strikes without warning? What if life as you know it has completely turned on its head? Would you be prepared? Before a disaster turns your family's world upside down, be ready. Get a kit. Make a plan. Be informed. Learn how at www.ready.gov. Brought to you by the Federal Emergency Management Agency and the Ad Council.
I'm in love with this girl. In love with.
Hi, I'm Gavin DeGraw for RAD, recording artists, actors, and athletes against drunk driving. In less time than it takes to play your favorite tune, someone will be killed or injured in an alcohol-related crash. If you party, plan ahead. Designate before you celebrate. Sad stories make great songs, but happy endings make better lives. Friends don't let friends drive drunk.
A public service message brought to you by the U.S. Department of Transportation, RAD, the National Association of Broadcasters, and the Ad Council.
Proving the fact that anything can happen on a Sunday night. Sorry about that little glitch. We're having trouble with the Skype system, and we are back in full play. I'll fix that in post. Take out the 2 commercials. Okay, Mabo, you said that you think that I'm overthinking.
Yeah, see, once again, that does prove that if you start talking about the WWE, Vince will come in here and muff up your stuff. But what I was saying was I think you're overthinking it, honestly, because, I mean, the man can't... Okay, I'm getting an echo. It's kind of throwing me off. I'll work through it. I just think that you're overthinking it, and I mean they already said that he's coming back as a board of directors assistant or whatever. So you're totally overthinking it, and I've totally forgot my main point.
It's okay. That happens.
Oh my God, I totally forgot it because it threw me off. Son of a biscuit. Okay, so I mean, he came back Monday night. So if he was really fired, or whatever is or fake fired, or whatever the crap's going on, then he shows back up for a farewell address, and I made one more match before I knew I was going to be fired. I made it anyway. That kind of bullcrap. And why does that always happen? Have you guys ever noticed when somebody in a position of power is is about to be quote unquote fired, they conveniently. And it always happened with the remember when they were doing the guest hosts of Raw? The guest host from last week just happened to make this match this week, even though we didn't tell you about it last week. They went ahead and made it for this week because they could, because they were in power. It's just the same thing. What? Laura and I I went ahead and made this match. So, I mean, I always hate that little cop-out right there. But no,
yeah, I know.
I don't think it was audio glitch, and that's pretty much like we're experiencing now. So you're reading way too much into it there. Conspiracy therapy.
Conspiracy therapy. There you go. I kind of like that idea. I think I'm gonna make a show called that. Conspiracy therapy. Now we're making a reference to the TV title beforehand, and is this going to be the Brother Devon Memorial title from this point on? Because it looks like they're going to keep it on him and build him up into that powerhouse without giving him a shot at he's not in the Bound for Glory series. And he's not getting a world championship match anywhere in the immediate future. I mean, I understand the concept of building credibility for a title, but I also understand that title being used for other things in storylines. Wicked, your thoughts?
When it comes crashing down. I'm sorry, I missed part of that.
The TV title, for as long as they've kept it on Devon without giving him a world title shot.
But that's the problem, is they don't use it. We just talked about Austin Aries jumping over, like leapfrogging himself into being number one contender at least once a year, and then the X Division. But they don't see it as the number one contender, then why should we?
Mabo.
I think it might be just something to keep Devon in the public eye. They see something in Devon. I mean, Bully Ray's always been the real standout of the two. But they also see something in Devon, and they're just, I don't want to say placeholder because that just makes him sound like an afterthought. But I mean, that's just what it seems like it is. But also, it is lending credibility. That he's an established veteran. He's holding on to it. He's defending it. He was supposed to be defending it every week. I don't know if you guys noticed that he did not defend it this week.
Nope.
Turns out that TNA rescheduled everything because of all the BFG series matches. So he didn't get to defend it or anything. But I think when you have a veteran name like Devon holding on to it, defending it, giving it some sort of worth, and setting it up, and maybe using that to get when somebody does take him from it, or take it from him, it'll mean that much more about the title and that much more, the person.
The first woman to go through gut check, Taylor Hendricks. How do you think she did, Mabo?
Look, I mean, depending on everybody's opinion on how they feel about her, everything, I personally, I couldn't make a connection to her. Whether it be, the sympathetic with Tara beating the, snot out of her. By the way, Tara's totally hot.
Yes.
I know she's a little bit older, little bit older than me, but hey, just saying, just a little bit something. But I couldn't make a connection with her. Just like with Alex Silva, I didn't have a connection with Alex Silva. I could have really gave two sharts about Alex Silva. Taylor Hendricks didn't really have a connection with her. Didn't think she did all that well in her in-ring performance either. But there was no connection, and that's what I need to feel with someone who is getting the quote-unquote gut check. I mean, we all know the fix is in anyway, so it doesn't matter. But like with unless you're Ric Flair, then you just change everything. But with Joey Ryan, I felt the connection. I felt, not just because I knew Joey Ryan from his past work on the Independents, or that I was a fan of Joey Ryan. I was a fan of Joey Ryan before Gut Check because I had that connection with him. I enjoyed his work. I enjoyed the character that he portrayed. I enjoyed what he did. To me, Taylor, there was no connection. I couldn't, and then they tried to play and I'm not saying they played this, but I'm just saying to me it came off trying to give her the sympathetic card by saying that she was a cancer survivor and all that.
The pity card.
I'm not saying they did she might have just been telling her story. But to me it seemed like a ploy to try to give her the sympathy, sort of the sympathy nod. Didn't make a connection, so I honestly can't say that I think she did very well.
Wicked Nemesis.
Okay. First of all, I have a vast echo. I can hear everything I'm saying, so it's always very hard. I kept waiting for Taylor Hendricks to roll out of the ring and scream at me. I'm just fine. She just doesn't have sympathy factor. She has that it factor, the charisma. She doesn't exude it as she should. And for somebody that you don't know, you definitely need to have not just a little bit of sympathy, but a lot of sympathy for them. And as maybe I said, she does not make that connection at all. So this was all for naught. I'm glad that they used somebody, from OVW, a former OVW women's champion, not a world champion, but an OVW women's champion. And I'm glad for that. But no, not at all. Not a good showing.
Yeah, I have to agree with Mabo. I didn't make any kind of connection with her. She just, even with the promo, so-called promo she cut before the match, I got the impression of traveling jobber, enhancement talent for Tara, and that's all I see. If they do give it to her, I'm really going to be in a state of disappointment because you've still got Angelina Love and Winter, who they could easily bring back onto television and create that much more as for the storylines. So from that vantage point, it's just like it really just did nothing for me. I agree with the Joey Ryan bit. I really think that he should have been brought in, but I also understand why they didn't bring him in. I wasn't a fan of Silva either. So 2 out of 3 on the gut check so far. I can see why they didn't do it. Why they wouldn't. Okay. Hendricks, I can see why they won't. Silva, I can't see why they did, other than the factor of Flair going into business for himself on that one. And from that vantage point, I can't see why they didn't with Joey Ryan, because I think that he would make he brings that main stage notoriety with him because of the fact that he does have a strong background in the business. But from that vantage point, we're going at 12 minutes before the top of the hour. So, gentlemen, I'm going to go ahead and lay one on the table. Last call. Matter of fact, before I do, good friend of ours here on Beyond Ringside, Matt Denton. How you doing tonight, buddy?
Was wondering why when you get to me.
I figured I'd go ahead and bring you in right now.
I was feeling like I was left in the corner, all sad, alone, and hungry.
Did you have your blueberry pie with you?
No, I did not.
Well, damn, we were sent a blueberry pie over to you, man.
Well, maybe Mabo intercepted the parcel and ate it for himself.
Mabo, did you eat the pie?
Oh, I've been known to eat pie.
Went a long way for that one, and by God, it worked. Matt, how you been doing, man?
I've been good. How are you?
Fair to partly cloudy. Tell you what, while we got you here, go ahead and weigh in on the Taylor Hendricks bit.
I don't watch TNA.
So asking you about... Okay.
Oh, but my Twitter followers said it sucks, so I do have to agree with them.
Okay. From that vantage point, have you caught ROH?
Sorry, what was that?
Did you catch ROH, the lead-in show for Best in the World 2012?
No, I did not.
Ooh, shame on you. Get a chance, watch it.
I will pirate it.
But it's available on YouTube also. You don't have to pirate, just catch it on YouTube. Just type in ROH June 2012 full.
No, I'm going to pirate it. You can't stop me from pirating it.
It's just easier to get it off YouTube. It's there.
Look, the boy wants to pirate it. Let him daggone pirate the thing and shut up.
Being a responsible businessman, I do have to discourage the concept of piracy, and I will show you legal and proper means in which to get it through normal channels. There, I said it. My lawyer is
stop you from butt pirating.
My lawyer is happy right now. Now, speaking of butt pirates, how you doing, Mabo? But from that vantage point, the opening match this week on ROH, Eddie Edwards, brutal Bob Evans, with the exception of 3 loud, noisy misses in crucial spots. Actually, not a bad match. All the way across the board. I mean, Edwards did a good job with Evans. Evans, of course, I think that was a nice little payoff for the career that he's had to give him the national television match and actually let him look good. From that vantage point, the Jay Lethal, Chris Silvio match, not a big fan of. And Wicked, you made a comment about Jay Lethal earlier, and I can't remember if it was on air or off air. Would you like to reiterate that?
Oh, yeah, it was actually off air. You and I were talking about what happened on Ring of Honor. During this match, Jay Lethal has regressed in what he did, what he used to. When he was on TNA, you know, he had that very. You have three. There, I guess there are 3 heel managers aligning and kind of scoping out the situation against Chris Hero Light, whatever the hell the guy's name is.
Chris Silvio.
And Chris Silvio or whatever. And he throws Jay Impact, oh my God, he throws Jay Lethal into the ring post. Okay? Now Jay Lethal eats the ring post and gets no sympathy. And then, of course, the whole thing about he should have been counted out because the guy didn't really break the guy. He just went after him, but we won't get into that. Also the fact is that Jay Lethal, all the momentum, all of the sympathy, all of the fire he had is gone. He has totally regressed in his character now that he's gotten out of TNA. And I don't know if it did the Macho Man gimmick so long or whatever, but it's just not there anymore.
I have to agree. He has regressed. He's gone backwards, and that's really sad because Jay Lethal had tremendous promise. Mabo, did you catch it?
Yeah.
Your thoughts?
About the match or the show overall?
Both of them.
I just like anytime I get to see them boys. All I care. Them boys. That's all that matters.
Notice they haven't been on television in a couple of weeks. Also, the main event, the situation with Davey Richards and the tag team match against ROH World Champion Kevin Steen and Jimmy Jacobs. I thought that was well done. Oh, my final thought on the Jay Lethal match, I thought the entire match was just an overblown build-up to the brawl that took place afterwards. If they'd have just gone ahead and gone with a Broadway situation with Jay Lethal, Roderick Strong, and Tommaso Ciampa, I think that would have been probably the best thing to do. Just let him go at it. Bring Lethal out for an interview and then have Strong intercede and then turn around and have Ciampa come in after that.
By the way, who told Tommaso Ciampa that it was a good idea to bleach all of his facial hair?
Not me.
Ken Anderson.
Ken Anderson.
Well, I mean, I know Ken used to, rock the Jerry Lawler, Rebel Alliance insignia goatee, but Ciampa bleached his entire face. It looks like somebody covered it in whiteout, and I don't mean whiteout if you know what I'm saying.
There you go. You're not speaking of liquid paper. From that vantage point, like I say, I would love to find out what all's happened with Best in the World 2012 pay-per-views going on, I believe, still as we speak.
Actually, I think it might have just wrapped up, Eddie, because I know
Kevin Steen versus Richards was happening while we were doing the show.
Okay.
And Steen retained, thanks to Xavier Fate and JR3629 on Twitter for letting us know that Kill did retain.
Okay.
Thanks for that, Wicked. Now I'm not going to pirate the show because now I know the results. Thank you.
Well, that was only one match. There was only one match that he talked about. But from that vantage point,
he ruined it all for me.
I'm so sorry to hear that. I really am, and I'm being sincere. Let's go for last calls. Maybo, Mark Bowman.
Yeah, what's up with Ken Doane trying to get his name back out there, bringing up all of the business with when he was engaged to Mickie James, and then she slept with Cena, and then Cena might have slept with somebody else, possibly Victoria, and he's getting all up in. I mean, I am not, a fan of Cena as far as in-ring work, everything all like that. Not a big Cena, but Cena, the personal life. What gives Ken Doane the right to allegedly bring up all this, that, and the other that happened, a couple of years ago, and do all this crap? I mean, seriously, are you that desperate, Ken Doane, to get your name back out to the world of pro wrestling? I mean, for real.
Is that a open question, or is that just a statement?
That's really more of a statement. I mean, that really kind of, pisses me off. And I will, you know what, I'm not going to have anything to do with it because I think it's kind of sleazy. But if either of you two or three, Matt, if you want to get Ken Doane on this show, I will personally confront him about what a scumbag he is for doing this. Because I think
scumbag or not, he still has a pretty leg drop.
Oh well, I'm not arguing about the man's in-ring skills. I'm talking about the fact that, he was a queer leader on TV, and then he got fired because John Cena stole his girl, allegedly, maybe, possibly. Who knows? Who cares?
Allegedly.
All right? That happens all the time. People get swapped around and passed around in the back like, I don't know what, Maria Kanellis, but who cares? People keep personal business out of, off the internet as far as that stuff goes.
Okay. Well, we'll see what we can do on that front. Wicked Nemesis, last call.
Well, my last call is this. Always make sure you know the rules about being counted out. And if you're a heel manager, do not put your hands on the other guy, even if you're just putting him in the ring. That calls for disqualification. I thought this was basic knowledge, but obviously not. And wipe your feet before you get in the ring.
There you go. Matt Denton, got a last call you'd like to throw out there? Question, comment, statement?
5 years. 5 years.
5 years.
I know.
I'm now gonna go and put the dogs in the enclosed pool area.
Make sure you send a text out.
Yeah, I don't know how it works. Do I text Chavo or do I text Regal first?
Good question.
Chavo did it.
Shameless plugs. Mark Bowman.
Yeah, MA_BO on Twitter, Mark Bowman on Facebook. Check out some of my friends and the businesses that they run. Bob's Comics here in Birmingham, Alabama. Also check out Eyewitness store over on Facebook and Creative Concept Designs. I'm sure Eddie might have graphics or links or, sausage patties or maybe even bacon. Maybe he has bacon. I don't know.
Pancakes.
But he has some. That too. Little blood sausage there. He has some form of breakfast meats available to go along with this. Also check out Bev Nerd over at Bev Nerd on Twitter, Bev Nerd on Facebook, and BevNerd.com.
Okay. Wicked Nemesis, shameless plugs.
VO Daily Motion, YouTube, what else? At Wicked Nemesis on Twitter. Just Google Wicked Nemesis, and I'm there. Facebook at Wicked Nemesis fan page. Enoch at thewickednemesis.com. For bookings this Friday, NWA Pro South. This Saturday, AWA Mumford, Alabama, but that's not the big surprise. Eddie, drumroll, please. This Saturday, Colin Like a Bomb, Pandora, and myself, the architect of Intellect, the Oracle of Omnis, will be where, Eddie?
At Global Championship Wrestling in Pell City, Alabama, at the Pell City Civic Center.
Yes, sir. Can you believe that? That's right. So, get your TV ready, get your popcorn ready, Go sell all the crystal meth and save up all your food stamps, Pell City, because it is on. And this Saturday is something you'll never see. This Friday, NWA Pro Step, Harder, Better, Faster, Stronger. I think Kanye West will be there, since we're I'm being told he will not be there. But I will be there with the judge. The judge will take on Tyler Gage, the Future Classic. Also, make sure you check out Gamer Rage, and make sure This Very Ring, the To Be Determined show, this Wednesday, 9 p.m. Central Standard Time. This Very Ring tonight at what time? What time do they go on? 10?
11.
11. So make sure you check those guys out, and TNTRadio.net. Thank you, as always, guys, for listening. And the NWA Women's World Champion Tasha Simone is better than your divas, your knockouts, and probably your heavyweight champion. And she doesn't need a casket match to get over.
Matt Denton, care to throw out shameless plugs?
Yeah, I want to correct Wicked Nemesis. It's TNT-radio.net.
I was going to do that.
Yeah, don't forget the dash. It's one step up from an underscore. Actually, in a couple of weeks, hopefully, if he doesn't back out again, the July 4th episode of To Be Determined will be going head-to-head with Sports Access. Ooh, controversy. And you can follow me on Twitter at Words from Prism.
Prism.
I have ketchup.
And ketchup. Words from ketchup, yes.
Couple of quick notes. Number one, Wicked made the reference to it. I'll go ahead and follow up on the reference. This coming Saturday night, June the 30th in Pell City, Alabama. We'll be back with the family in Global Championship Wrestling. Got some great matches lined up. This will be a CW21 TV taping. Also will be replayed through Blip at later points in time. Some of the matches, not all the matches. Definitely bring your signs, posters, banners, T-shirts, all of the above, and bring your ability to have a little bit of fun. Better yet, have a lot of fun. This coming, we'll see in just a few hours, actually tomorrow, back with the Birmingham Barons at Regents Park. Looking forward to it. We're playing the Mississippi Braves this week. Got a great series going on, an exciting Double-A baseball action, Southern League AA, all of the above. Take your pick. Check them out at barons.com. Wednesday night, I'll be back with Papa Sias in Helena, USA. Also on Thursday nights, Buffalo Wild Wings in Hoover. Friday nights, Buffalo Wild Wings in Alabaster. And like I said, Saturday night, GCW in Pell City. Personally, Facebook.com/FastEddieLane. Same thing on Twitter, MySpace, Google+, LinkedIn, more social networks than I've got active brain cells. Follow the show in and of itself at Beyond Ringside over on Twitter. On Facebook, Beyond Ringside Live is the URL. It's facebook.com/Beyond Ringside Live. And still active on MySpace every once in a while because there are actually humans there. In about 57 minutes from right now, I will be hosting GCW Radio. You can listen to it directly through BeyondRingside.com. Check out Facebook.com/GCW Pro Wrestling for all information. Got a lot of great things going on tonight. Definitely check it out. Swinging back around to monitor number one. Great to have Matt Denton on with us for a few minutes this evening. Matthew, as always, great to hear from you, Matt.
It's great to be on.
Special thank you to the modern-day hero, the NWA World Junior Heavyweight Champion, Kevin Douglas, for coming on with us this evening here on Beyond Ringside. In honor of Mabo, I almost said Kevin Smith, but just for the hell of it, I decided to get Kevin's name right, correct, and proper. Kevin Douglas 24/7 over on Twitter. Catch him when you get a chance to. From that vantage point, we will be back at it next Sunday night, 5:30 p.m. Central, 6:30 Eastern, 3:30 Pacific, and I'm still trying to figure out if I really want to mention the Mountain Time Zone. I'm just kidding. 4:30 Mountain. Back in force. Keep your eyes on BeyondRingside.com. Don't forget, if you have Shoutcast, if you venture through BeyondRingside.com, you can find the best of BeyondRingside.com when we're not live. The best of Beyond Ringside is airing. For Matt Denton, say goodnight.
Good night.
For Mark Mabo Bowman,
I will be putting on a Broadway production of The Lion King using nothing but tampons later on, so pirate that off YouTube. Arr!
You sick man. For the Oracle of Ominous, the Architect of Intellect, the Wicked Nemesis.
If there's not at least 7 mentions of me tonight on GCW Radio, I'm going to punch you in the thigh when I see you Saturday and push you over, Eddie.
Oh, don't make that noise because you know Mabo's going to jump on it.
That's what she said.
Pretty much. This is the Magic City Motor Mouth, Fast Eddie Lane, saying adios to Aspadania, hasta luego, auf Wiedersehen, shall sayonara, arrivederci, farewell, au revoir, au revoir, and until we meet again, aloha means bye-bye. And we'll see you next week, right here on the Beyond Ringside Radio Network.
7 mentions.
7?
My scrotum skin and my elbow skin are made of the same material.
It's called leather.
And it also smells of rich mahogany.
Spoiler alert, Matt Denton dies at the end of Scarface.
Spoiler alert. Spoiler alert, Matt Denton is Luke Skywalker's father.
Too easy, not going to follow it up. I will say Easter eggs done. We're out. Bye-bye.
Meow.